Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. This past weekend, WWE partied like it was 1985, just with less cocaine. Retro graphics, retro referee attire, retro ring ropes, appearances from Hall of Famers who, well, let's face it, were probably within driving distance and not obligated to a signing event somewhere. Hell, they even pried Jesse Ventura out of the Baja to heel it up on commentary. It might not have been a true PLE, but Triple H and company pimped this sucker out like it was, so we're going to review it in this episode 187, Saturday Night's Blast from the Past. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who discovered that he could still fit into his parachute pants from third grade. He has been my partner in Idiocy for over 2 decades, and will more than likely have some type of permanent internal injury from cutting off his circulation for 2 hours. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kevin Sullivan. I mean, Tim. He's trying to pull off like this, I don't know, like a Taz Emperor sort of thing.
I almost did the RVD thumbs when you were going, but I decided not to.
And all I see is like WCW Kevin Sullivan Dungeon of Terrors or whatever.
Fine. Fine. There it is.
I'm sorry. I don't want to spoil it for you, but
no, that's all
I
right.
can't unsee it now that I've seen it.
Quite honestly, it was getting a little hot under the hood. I think I needed to ventilate. So.
Well, we don't want you overheating right now.
What do you think of the new CM Punk hoodie from
that is very nice.
WWEshop.com.
It is nice. I like the
it's quality.
I like the white drawstrings on the black because you'll actually be able to find them.
Yes.
Although I am not a fan of the drawstrings, but I am a big fan of the zip-up hoodie. I love me a zip-up hoodie. I don't like the whole like pullover thing anymore, especially with glasses. It adds like this thing where half the time I forget until it's actually over my head, and then my glasses do one of like doing that as I'm trying to do this, and I've got piss poor eyesight, so I've got really expensive glasses, and all I'm thinking is like I'm gonna totally break these. And then I'll be blind for like 3 weeks until they can get me a new pair. Yep. Machined from like the jungles of Cambodia or something. I don't know where they get these lenses, but it takes forever to friggin' get them.
Good Lord.
Anyways.
Well, I got to ask before we start here,
yes.
is there a roaring fire behind you or not?
There is not. We're actually, today was like 55 degrees.
Oh, okay.
In Maine. So we hit a bit of a heat wave. I think tomorrow we dip back down into the 40s, and then we're supposed to get snow by the end of the week.
Of course, because that's how it works.
It's Maine.
For Kaylin's Comedy Corner, will she be in full blanket, form there, regardless of the weather?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Tonight she was a bit prickly in her demeanor, so we'll see whether or not we get an appearance.
It's going to be more like Kaylin's Ransom Corner or something like that, It'll
be Festivus airing of grievances.
Oh, there it is. Within the holiday spirit, of course.
Yeah, she's going to come here and beat me with a Festivus pole. That's probably how this is going to work.
I'm going to read my books. Bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
Yes, dear.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
And you're all going to hear about it.
The good thing is, I think I might be able to still take her in feats of strength as long as mobility isn't the primary issue. I think I got her there.
That is the deciding factor: is the feats of strength. So.
Yes. Well, how are you doing, sir? How's life out in Chi-Town?
Couldn't be better. Actually, we had a bit of the warm up a couple days ago, which is probably what you're experiencing now. So that was nice. Otherwise, yeah, things are good. I'm gearing up for 2 weeks off, my friend. 2 weeks of recharge and relaxation and holiday spirit and beef tenderloin and bourbon and
come down to friggin' meat.
We're gonna have some deviled eggs. We're gonna.
Why am I not even remotely surprised?
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to some festive times with family, with friends, and
I'm looking at my calendar, and I might try and pull the same trick. I was gonna have about a week and a half off.
Oh, come on, take the full 2, baby. Take the full 2.
I might actually give that a try.
You should. You've earned it.
Well, I don't know about that, but I might do it anyways because I'm a slacker.
That's just slacker. But yeah, I'm gearing up for that. We get the family home, so nothing planned as of yet. We kind of fly by the seat of our pants a little bit, so might head down to downtown Chicago, maybe hit a museum or something like that. We'll see.
Wow.
And although Thursday, going with my wife to see Wicked at the theater.
Oh, nice.
Which we actually saw as part of our anniversary back in the late 2000s. I think it was like 08 or 07, somewhere in there. We saw it in the in downtown Chicago. It was playing there, and that, like, honestly, that blew me. That blew my mind. Like the music, like I had never listened to anything. I had no idea.
No, wait, are you going to see the movie now?
We're going to see the movie, but I was just saying we had seen the play.
Yes, okay,
or the musical, I should say.
Yeah.
Back when it was actually, I
didn't know if it was touring around again. You were going to like.
No. It's just something we saw a long time ago. And then once we saw it, I mean, I actually, because this was during the time of the iPod before, this is actually pre-iPhone. So we had iPods still. And I remember downloading the soundtrack because I was just, I loved it. I mean, I just, I'm, as we've talked about on past episodes, I'm more of a classic rock guy and kind of gravitate toward that sort of music. But no, this musical blew me away. Like just great music. Great story. It was really interesting how they weave it into, because they do weave it into the Wizard of Oz. Just it's not a retelling of the Wizard of Oz, but they
sort of like the Rogue One of Wizard of Oz.
In a way, it is. It's almost like I'm trying to think. It's almost to put it in terms for this show for our fans who understand what the core of the show has always been. BSG. This is like the plan. Where it's being told like same story, but being told from a different perspective.
Okay, cool.
So a little bit of, and you're not wrong. It's a little bit Rogue One because it is a prequel. It is leading into the events of Wizard of Oz, but then there is the juxtaposition of the plan where you see it from a different perspective.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Kaylin and my wife actually went to see it in the theater not that long ago. And I did not go. They fracking loved it. So I don't know that I'll go see it in the theater. I might wait for it streaming. But I have a feeling I'm not going to escape it one way or the other. So I've heard really good things. It's not like I have an aversion to seeing it or anything. It's not that. It didn't work out for me going to see it with them. And now I'm just, getting towards the holidays, like I don't know that I really feel like going and seeing anything in the theater right now.
Yeah. Understood. All right. I'm changing up my end another thing because I just thought of.
Oh, good. Well, while you do that, you know what? We should probably get into the Week in Geek because we're going to talk some wrestling later on. So let's dig into that.
Let's get into the business.
Looking at me.
You should have timed that for the very end. That last hit, you could have had the.
I didn't know it was going to do that. It never really pops like that for me.
Well, yeah, that's what she said.
Come on now.
You're well. That's what she said. And anyway, so what do we got in this week's Week in Geek, sir? Oh,
all right.
Dear God, I see the first item.
We're going to start off in a way that I think Uncle Todd is not looking forward to.
Having so much trouble not flipping you the bird right now. All right, let's get on.
I am not making fun, and I am not gloating here, sir. I empathize and sympathize.
Whatever. Let's do this thing.
All right, so we are week 15, Tales from the Fantasy Gridiron. This is the final week of regular season play as we rocket into the quarterfinals of the playoffs.
Some of us rocket.
Well, some of us indeed. But, sir, would you like to go first?
Those of us who faced the garbage team in their last matchup, as a matter of fact.
I can't help the algorithms and the way they schedule the teams.
Take an algorithm and you shove it where the sun don't shine.
I'll go first because I think Uncle Todd is going to pop like Mount Vesuvius in a moment. So let's just start with me. Yes, I did have to take out the trash. I was taking on the garbage team this week, much to Uncle Todd and some of the other members of the league chagrin. This was a pushover victory because, again, the garbage team is set up to not really be competitive. So I had a week of 162-6. That is right. It is basically our version of the Washington Generals. But interesting to note, Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel both underperforming for me. And
you poor dear.
But otherwise, solid outing from T. Higgins, from Joe Burrow, and the Pittsburgh defense. Cameron Dicker, the kicker, is giving me a little bit of concern there with his low points. But like I said, nonetheless, I will take it. I am headed into the quarterfinals of next week, or this upcoming week, where I will take on our good friend, the man they call Matt. His Peyton's Lazy Boys. It is an even outing. 177 I am projected to obtain. 175 for him. I'm 51% favored. So we will see if the man they call to. And by the way, I vaulted up into 5th place from 8th place. So I was down in 8th place. I jumped 3 because of the points 4. Our league ended up
supposed
with,
to be impressed by that or something?
No, I'm just saying
Okay,
I'm just letting the listeners know because they don't see what you and I see. But we had.
You mean through your tomfoolery and your riggedness of this league?
I have nothing to do with the schedule.
You're outright just politicking and fixing of this thing.
Oh, good Lord. Folks, listen not to the man behind the curtain. I can't even say it with a straight face.
No, you can't, because you know you're guilty. You know you're guilty. The whole Chicago thing has rubbed off on you, sir. Vote early, vote often.
And rig the schedule to your favor.
Exactly.
So we ended up with the top 3 teams. We're 12-3, 11-4, and 9-6 respectively. But then places 4 through 7 are all knotted up at 8 and 7, and it was the points 4 that separated them all. So I had 2,659 points 4, so that put me above the 6th place team. And then
just out of curiosity, how many points 4 did I have through this season?
You had 2,762.
So I did outscore you, didn't I?
You did. The unfortunate thing is on the win-loss record.
Even against the garbage team twice, I still outscored you. Playing real opponents. One more game than you did.
And I salute you, sir. I salute you for your teams.
I'd salute you, too, but this is a family show.
Well, thank you for showing some measure of control there. Sir, I have talked long enough about my team and the league and where we're all headed. How are you doing?
I got paintbrushed.
You're not holding back on this one, folks. Good Lord.
I made my bed and then my wide receivers crapped in it. That's pretty much what happened.
So did the smoting come to pass?
Yes, the Lord smote me at the worst possible moment.
Oh, God.
I hear you, Lord. I hear you. I get it. I get it. I've been a bad boy.
Oh.
Yeah, this despite the fact that I had Lamar Jackson scoring 62 points.
Yeah, he went off.
I had my kicker score 16. I got 23 points wrung out of the Bengals defense. But Saquon Barkley, a very pedestrian 27 points. Mm-hmm. Najee Harris just completely screwed me over with 8 points. The thing is, I rearranged my wide receiver core according to Yahoo's ratings. As always, don't trust Yahoo for anything.
Other than the scheduling.
Jalen Waddle. Oh, you quiet down about the scheduling. Jalen Waddle, nothing. Marvin Harrison, a meager 5 points. Tank Dell, 6 points. Meanwhile, sitting on my bench, we've got Devonta Smith with 28. Sam Laporta, 18. Jaden Reed, who completely screwed me over last week, got 13 points this week. And then had I started Tank Bigsby, the running back from freaking Jacksonville, I would have gotten better than Najee Harris. The only consolation I have in all of this is I went through and I did the math. Had I made every right decision, had I started everything perfectly, I still would have only had 214 points because my opponent had Josh Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and Josh Jacobs all on his roster. So that is 74, 37, 26, 37 points for a wide receiver, 26 points for a wide receiver.
37 is normally what a running back, a reasonable running back would get, not a wide receiver.
That's 193 receiving yards, 14 receptions, and 1 receiving TD for those scoring at home. CeeDee Lamb, 116, 9, and 1 receiving touchdown. Hell, Ladd McConkey, the scrub of his wide receiver court, got 16 points. Then he had Josh Jacobs rush for 94 yards and a TD, 26 attempts for 47 points. So that, and then he had Houston's defense, which got him 19 points. So nothing to do. Again, it's one of those deals where it's like, yeah, this was personal. This was personal. This was the Lord picking me out and saying, you know what, F that guy in particular. Nothing but a grease spot remains of Gerard's juggernaut.
No, I think the more appropriate thing to say is much like Gandalf in the Fellowship of the Ring. You shall not pass, jabroni.
So the other part, the only thing I can take as consolation is I am not the 1-8-7 team that managed to miss the playoffs because there was 4 of them, 3 made it in, and that one lonely 8-7 team got stuck with his cheeks hanging out in the wind. So at least I'm not that guy.
That was our champion from last year, by the way.
Yeah,
so
good.
We will have a newly crowned world champion at the end of this.
Good. I hope the servers just crash and everybody loses. That's what I'm rooting for right now.
I think the default goes to the commish, so I think I would be.
It probably would. It probably would.
Sir, Valiant's season.
Oh, don't give me that crap.
We had 2 idiot bowls. You won both of them, so you have that to hang your hat on. It just so happens that I'm moving forward in the playoffs. It just happened. I had nothing to do with the scheduling as much as you want to make it about that. So are you going to play next year?
There is no way.
Oh, come on.
No way that you could have come from my loins. I'm going to go home and punch Roger Goodell in the face.
No kidding.
To be determined.
All right. Well, I do hope you do come back because it was much more fun with you being a part of it than with you not being a part of it and kind of rushing me through the segment because
watching me get smoked throughout the year.
It was close.
I'm glad that was very entertaining for you.
It was close.
I'm glad that my pain
an
can
admirable effort, and I tip my cap to you, sir. Figured it.
Again, I'll take that cap and show it where the sun will shine.
All right, why don't we move on before Uncle Todd loses it?
Yes, why don't we?
All right, so this article actually comes from a couple of weeks ago from our good friends at CagesideSeats.com, purveyors of all in the professional wrestling industry.
Yes.
This was an article that came out shortly after the vile, I say, turn of the New Day. The turn where now when they try to speaketh on the mic, they are booed out of the building vociferously.
Yeah, the Dom treatment.
They do. This article is the 5 most heartbreaking betrayals in WWE history. Now, this is quite the statement to make because when we talk about the long and venerable history of the WWE, there have been a lot of betrayals.
Yes, there have.
There have been partners who have turned on one another. There have been mentors and students who have battled and fought in the squared circle. And so in this top 5, they run through some of those angles and storylines and betrayals that have happened. But I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I have some issues with this list. So would you like me just to quickly run through the 5 from 5 to 1 and
yes,
then we can discuss them? Okay. So at number 5, what they have entitled Heart of Glass. This is I'll say it right now, shockingly, at number 5. So the bottom of this list is Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty ending their 7-year relationship as the Rockers in 1992, in probably what is one of the most shocking, turn of events that has happened on WWE television.
It's very rare when you get one of these lists that is invalidated immediately when you hit the first one.
I mean,
you're like, I already know I'm not taking this seriously.
Right away, I'm just like, what the heck is this? All right, that was number 5. Number 4 is entitled A Giant Letdown. This is when Andre the Giant made his intentions known to one Hulk Hogan that he would be challenging him for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Hogan could not believe that his friend would have the temerity to challenge him in such a way, for he apparently thought there was someone else outside of a large 7-foot man who is deserving of a title shot.
Well, he also aligned himself with Heenan. This was where he became part of Heenan's family. So yeah, and also tore the cross off.
I just remember Hogan just like being, well, anyways, we'll get into it when we break it down. So Andre the Giant turning on Hulk Hogan was number 4. Number 3 was Seth freaking Rollins ending the Shield by attacking his 2 Shield members and revealing that he is now in league with what was known as the Authority at the time. Number 2 was an interesting one. This goes back a bit, and I was really surprised this appeared as high on the list as it did. The student betrays the teacher, but I have heard about how heralded this is. Larry Zbyszko, who many probably of my generation know as more of an announcer than as a wrestler, because he was a
legend.
Yeah, the living legend. He was a cornerstone announcer for WCW. Had a vicious feud with Bruno Sammartino. And this was a mentor-student sort of breakdown that happened. And then number 1, Uncle Todd, is the just recently happening. So basically, when this article was written, this was a couple days old. The most heartbreaking betrayal was the New Day, which literally just happened.
Yeah.
So with that list,
holy recency bias, Batman.
What say you, sir?
I say this is even not being as much of a wrestling student historian as you are, sir. This just is it reeks of like, well, we got to try and make the New Day thing the top.
I think the term you use sometimes is horse pucky.
Yes, the polite version of that. Yes. No, it's just no. This, I mean, if you want to put New Day on, highest they could be is 3.
Yeah.
But even then, like, it just happened. We don't even know how this, part of the reason why, the Rockers breaking up became as big as it was is because Shawn Michaels went on to have the career that he did. The reason why Andre betraying Hogan was a big deal is because we got WrestleMania 3. The reason why, I can imagine, even if you go back to the Shield, which again, whatever, I wasn't watching at this point. So, I get
that's what I was going to say. You weren't watching the product when this happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you wind up with this being kind of the seeds now of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, their career going forward. Fine. And the whole Sammartino Zbyszko thing, that's probably just like hey, well, we got to mention this because we can't have them all be from the last, few years or the 80s. So we got to find one. So that's kind of like the token oldish one. Hey, you got some issues going on over there.
Yeah, I got a light that's like freaking out.
But but the fact is, like, the New Day thing just happened.
Yeah. Like,
we have no idea where it's going. How are you going to rank this number 1 on a list when it's literally just happened and there's no idea? This whole thing could just completely crap the bed.
Yes.
It might just die on the vine. Now, so far there's a lot of heat, but depending on where this goes, like, you're counting the chickens not even before they're hatched, before they've even been popped out of the chicken.
Yeah. Now, So there's two ways to look at the betrayals. It's, one way is to look at just the event itself. The other is to look at like you're saying, the outcome of what happened, right? I got to be honest. I don't know how anyone can rank something higher than Michael's Jannetty because of the sheer shock and violence of it. Like, it wasn't just Michael's.
If you want to go by this single event, then yes. It
wasn't just Michael's turning against his partner. It was the fact that up until that point on WWE TV, we had never seen anything like that. Like when Jannetty went through that window, which was, again, I don't want to say it was a faux window. It was glass, but it was
gimmicked. Yeah, it's gimmicked. Sugar glass or whatever.
But there was something very shocking about it and very violent about it, and they played it up. Jannetty came up and he was bleeding and everything, and and again, maybe it's my bias a little bit because of when I saw it and the age I was when I saw it and the impression it left on me. But I just feel like that was probably one of the best turns I've really seen in all of wrestling, where it didn't seem contrived and it didn't seem overdone. It was, one principal taking the other one out, and there was a feud that followed after that. And unfortunately, I think if for Jannetty, if he wasn't kind of wrapped up in the addiction stuff, I think the way that he was, I think he and Michaels could have had a really interesting feud from that. And they did. I mean, when Jannetty eventually came back and feuded with Michaels, they had some amazing matches because they just were.
Well, they're both great workers. Yeah,
they're both great workers. They knew each other so well. They knew each other's moves and all of that. And so so I would put that as my number one. I think if we're just going to work with these five, I think I would put the New Day at right now at the bottom for the reasons you stated, because we don't know where this is going. Like right now, it looks very good. It seems to have done a lot for Kofi and Xavier Woods, and it gives them an edge. And it's interesting to see where they're going to go with it. So, but we don't know, and it's so early. I think Hogan Andre, I would put at number 2 because that was shocking. Andre the Giant was a perennial babyface. Like it was as shocking as when Hogan turned, because Hogan was never supposed to turn. Hogan was always going to be the good guy, and that was Andre the Giant. And so when Andre turned, that was shocking. It wasn't shocking in the violent way that Michaels and Jannetty was, but it was still shocking in that you just never, thought this would happen. And then when they set the match up, you're like, holy crap, how is Hogan going to beat him? Because Andre was imposing. So that was a great story. And then I think for number 3, I would probably, and this is probably recency bias on my part because I did not see the series of matches that Zbyszko and Sammartino had, but I was watching the product when the Shield was coming up, and when Rollins did what he did, it was shocking because the three of them had been on such a run and they had been so dominant, and it was quite shocking how WWE let them be so dominant. They never really have ever let a young group or young talent like that go on a run the way that the Shield did, just dominating everyone. And when he turned, it really truly was like, wow, this is kind of crazy, because these guys were running the table. And so, and the story after that was how, Triple H found a fracture with Seth Rollins, and Rollins was ambitious and he wanted to be the man, and went on to win the Universal Championship and all of that. And it was kind of a key part of that whole authority storyline. So I would put that as number 3, maybe Zbyszko, and then Zbyszko Sammartino is 4, and then New Day 5, because like I said, New Day is just way too early. But how about you, sir? What are your thoughts?
No, I'd agree with that. I might be tempted to move Zbyszko Sammartino up to number 3 just because, I mean, you're dealing with back in the day where you want to deal with the first two just on a base of purely shocking. I mean, this is like back in the day when, Sammartino sold out Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
This is a day when wrestling is huge, and to have someone turn on someone who is so immensely popular as Sammartino was. I mean, I forget how long he had the title, but I mean,
he had it almost 10 years.
Yeah. So whenever they mention like Roman Reigns is like, oh, well, it's the longest in modern history, is because,
because no one's breaking Sammartino's record.
Yeah, no, it's just never happening because he could draw like forever. And then when you get to the fact that Zbyszko beat him up with a fracking wooden folding chair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's ways that you can, with a metal folding chair, like that you can do that and spread it out. A wooden folding chair is much heavier
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
than a metal, an aluminum folding chair. Like, holy crap! I can't even imagine what that had to have felt like.
yeah.
So just for the pure, secondhand hearing of the brutality of that had to have been shocking and painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, New Day. Yeah, I agree with your order. Like with that one caveat that I could see swapping those. Yeah, New Day. It's like, yeah, they in the same way, similar way as Andre. It was all talk until there was some kind of action.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's face it, Hulk Hogan and Andre, as big as the New Day is and has been, and I mean, they had the whole 10-year celebration and all that. That's wonderful. Those guys have been over. However, were they ever Hogan over? Were they ever Andre over, like one of the most recognizable people on the planet? I mean, for either one of them.
Yeah.
Hogan and Andre. I mean, for kind of different reasons, but I mean, were they that over? No. So, I mean, again, it's like, even just on the sheer, like, yeah, I got a reaction, but
yeah,
I don't see it being the same kind of, waves going throughout the world as it was for a lot of those others.
Yeah. Yeah. And you bring a good point with San Martino Zbyszko, because that was in the moment of the betrayal, it may not have been at the level of Jannetty Michaels, but if we're talking about what happened afterward, that might get a higher rating and maybe earns the number 2 spot the way that it has, because they did have a very good series of matches from what I've read. I've never seen them. The one thing I saw, and I don't know if I'm placing this the right way, so I could be wrong, but I do remember, I don't know what I was watching, if it was a biography or if it was some other WWE documentary thing. But I distinctly remember that I think the feud ended with the Shea Stadium match, because they were in a baseball field, and it was a steel cage match between the two of them, and the San Martino won. And I just remember, and I don't know why this stuck with me, but I remember after the match, I mean, both San Martino and Zbyszko are just bloody, like absolutely like it was a brutal match. And Zbyszko comes out and goes to shake San Martino's hand, and San Martino literally just smacks his hand and just walks away. He's like, no. And that makes sense in the confines of the story, right? I mean, it's like Zbyszko had been like the absolute vilest heel to this guy, and they have their final blow off match, and now he wants to shake his hand. And it's like, screw you. Yeah. I don't blame him.
Because it was like the master and the student sort of thing as well. Right. It's like, it's the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're in
so,
that way, like, it's sort of the same thing with like Marty and Jannetty and Michaels, because they're partners,
right?
And you can make that same contention with New Day, but again, you're still lacking the action, the suddenness, the violence of it. It's just it's sudden in that, like, they're saying this stuff, but you can't beat like just how shocking that was at the time.
And I agree with something you said too, that I think what ends up happening afterwards, like, do we look on this betrayal the same way if Shawn Michaels has a ho-hum career afterwards and is not the showstopper? Probably not.
No.
But because we know him to become the icon that he became, and the foundation of really, WWE in the 90s, it's like, this was, you look back and you're like, this is a pivotal point, but you have to look back at it. Like, you didn't know that in the moment. The thing you knew in the moment was, damn, that was pretty vicious. And
well, I mean, Jannetty was being a coward and trying to jump to the window.
I literally was just going to go there. That was
one of Heenan's greatest
calls. That was one of the greatest calls of all time, was Bobby Heenan after Jannetty. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never seen this, I don't know if we can put this in the show notes, but if we can put a link in, for the YouTube clip of that in the show notes, if it's there. Listen to the commentary when this is going on. It's shocking enough when you see one guy put another through the window. But after Michaels throws Jannetty through the window, Bobby Heenan goes to Gorilla Monsoon. Would you look at that? Janetti the coward, he tried to jump through the window. And it's so funny. Like again, it's one of those things that I don't know if they knew what they had when this all happened, or if it just serendipitously happened this way.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you just see this guy go through this violent act and you hear the commentators say that, and it's like the perfect balance of comedy with the drama that's going on.
Yeah, it's just such amazing quick work by Heenan. And
Gorilla Monsoon just like, will you stop? You know.
Oh, those two.
Speaking
of which, we'll get into them because we got to hear some of the we didn't get to hear Heenan, but we got to hear a little Gorilla, so that was good.
We did.
All right, well, cool. Yeah, so basically they got the list upside down.
Basically, they did, and so as much as ladies and gentlemen, I am a fan of Cage Side Seats. It is a site that I frequent daily because they have very reputable reporting on upcoming, events and things going on in WWE. They have a rumors page that they print every day or post every day that is usually within the ballpark of what is going on. So they are a great site for wrestling news if you're into that. But this one I read and I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, no, it's
this is just not.
It's the thing is
passing
it's
the smell test,
and it's clickbait. I will give them this: it's clickbait in like 3 different directions. Like you're gonna get the people like, oh yeah, New Day, that was great, that's awesome. Then you're gonna get the people like us who are like, this is crap, and then you get other people like, oh yeah, they're just trying to troll people. Like they played it masterfully. I'll give them that.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make it any less horse pucky-ish.
No. Given where we are in time, I'm going to skip over the next story and let's save that until the next episode.
That's been kicked through like four episodes now.
It is a BSG based article. We're going to go deep on this one. Let us save it for a time when we can do it. Let's move on. This is something actually
it'll eventually evolve into its own episode.
Probably. You know what? That's probably what's
stew on it for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen the show Lost, by the way?
I started watching like the first episode, and I just kind of noped out of it.
No, you gotta push through. You gotta push through. It's good stuff.
Hang on a second.
Good
when
stuff.
Was Daybreak? I'm just kind of curious. When did Daybreak release? So
that was at 2008.
Ooh, it's March. So I mean, maybe we have to do a.
We haven't talked.
Oh, that'd be a 20. No, actually, it wouldn't be the 20. We missed the 25th anniversary.
Oh, did we?
Oh well, we could do a 26. Anyways, yeah, so, we will get to that. So I agree. Let's move on to the next.
Uncle Todd had this little ditty. Was this today or yesterday? I forget.
Today, I believe. Yes.
But it is a trailer for an upcoming show on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
It is Star Trek Section 31. And so I think we are going to go and watch the trailer they published today and do some commentary over it.
Link to this will be in the show notes if you want to watch along as we dive into this.
Indeed. All right, sir. This is your deal. So do you want to count us down?
Ooh, I get to do the countdown this time? All right, let's
least
go.
I can do for the man who missed the playoffs. So,
you know what? Just for that, you go ahead and count it down.
No, come on now, count it down.
All right, you ready?
Mm-mm.
I am now. Sipping your Cavassier. You're not paying attention here. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, cool looking space station there. We got some high heels.
I was gonna say, like, this is in the time of Kirk, correct? Right? Section 31 part of.
Yes, I think.
Yeah. So I
Michelle
love
Yeoh.
Oh yeah,
making her return to Star Trek.
Bring in the heat, the heavy lumber.
Badass. This space station just looks friggin' nuts.
But it's like this is not what was in Kirk's time. It just feels weird. Anyways, sorry, Michelle Yeoh doing Michelle Yeoh things. It's very good. Very good.
January 24th, man.
Oh, there we go.
I just canceled my Paramount Plus membership. So
you
I'll have to
always do that.
I know, but I'll get at least I'll save on 1 month and then I'll renew it right in time for this, so it'll work out perfectly.
Dang it! Oh my gosh! But I'm still working through Discovery. But
You'll want to finish it before you get to this.
Okay, all right. But no, her appearance. She's amazing in Discovery.
Oh, she is so good. Everything, dude.
She is so good.
Michelle Yeoh just needs to be in all the things.
Yeah, I love this. You're gonna punch me. You said she was gonna punch.
That is great.
That is good.
Yeah, this just looks so badass.
Yeah. There's gonna be some heads rolling.
Oh my gosh!
Bam! Oh,
there is just so much in this.
Yep. You've seen all of Discovery. I'm still working my way through it. So, do you ever get the sense though that are they doing too much in the time of Kirk? You know, because again, and I'm not trying to be a stickler here on detail, but supposedly like that time was more basic and things evolve into the next generation, right? So it just seems like we're seeing a lot of newer stuff that we would normally see like in Next Generation kind of in Kirk's time.
Yes, but you also have to understand that, I mean, no matter what you do, you're going to have to go out of your way to make something retro in order to make it fit. Yeah. And I think the understanding is, and they do have an elegant way of explaining some of the stuff like the spore drive and some of the things they explain how that is not a thing going forward. and a lot of it you just kind of have to accept, like, okay, it's not going to look as rickety and dodgy as the original Star Trek, because you'd have to go, everything would look terrible. It would absolutely look terrible.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So, and the kind of the same with Next Generation, because I mean, we're literally, I believe at the time right now where it's like, we are as far away from Next Generation as Next Generation was from the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, of course it's going to look different. You know, of course it's going to look different.
Yeah.
And I think they find ways to explain away some of it. And then in other ways, they're just like, roll with us. Like, this was what it would look like if you made it now.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to go out of our way to like go so retro that everyone will then crap over it because it's like, oh, well, it's unrealistic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So also if you're dealing with the other part is if you're dealing with like a special section of Starfleet, they're going to have all the really cool toys that not everybody else has. So there's a little room for maneuvering there of like special stuff. Same way with Discovery being an experimental ship.
Yeah.
It gives you leeway to do things differently than you would have with a run-of-the-mill group of people from Starfleet.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I don't know if I should say this. Are we spoiling anything if we talk about Michelle Yeoh's character from Discovery?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been out for a little while now.
So what's so interesting though to me is like, right, this is still the character that was like the Empress in a different in a different. Well, I shouldn't say different reality. It was an alternative universe, right?
Yes. So it's the Terran universe. So it's the same sort of one where you had all the evil characters and you could tell them because they had the goatees. So yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think was she an empress or what?
I thought she was like an emperor. Like she had conquered everything. Like there was no Starfleet. Right. Like it's been a little while. She was the game.
Yeah.
And then, you know, was, you know, cause I'm in season 3 right now. I was watching with my wife. My wife has given me dispensation to be cut loose and go watch it on my own. Cause unfortunately we just haven't, you know, we got watching Modern Family and a few other shows and it's just like, yeah, there's only so much we can watch. So I'm going to go watch that on my own. But whenever she's brought back into the story or Section 31 makes an appearance, there's always that underlying threat of this was someone who dominated in the galaxy and we're giving her power. You know? It's like that's a constant thread that it seems to get woven with every, you know, appearance that she makes. And so it's going to be interesting if they still play on that or not, or what kind of the story is there. But I like the idea of it being like Star Trek spy sort of, group.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be really, really fun and exciting. So it gives me a little motivation over this 2-week break I have to spend some time with Discovery and kind of blow through that as much as I can. So when it comes around, when the man comes around, I'm ready. So
yeah, and then after we get through Section 31, it should be just about time for Strange New Worlds,
which I need to watch. I haven't watched that at all. But I got to tell you, I forget the actor's name, but I love the guy who plays Pike.
Anson Mount.
Anson Mount is just he is the man.
He is so good, and you're gonna love the rest of the Enterprise crew when you get to Strange New Worlds, and it's a totally different vibe than Discovery.
Yeah.
But I love them. I love them both just because they both occupy some very different territory in the Star Trek universe.
Nice. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that is a neat and tidy week in Geek.
Neat and tidy. Okay, we'll go with that. All right, now on to our main event, which is Saturday night's main event. Coming to you live from Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Good God, can they add any more titles onto this fracking hump of concrete? What I love is the fact that this place is only slightly bigger than the old Cumberland County Civic Center here in Portland, Maine.
In historic Portland, Maine.
It makes you realize like what used to pass for like a large building. Yeah. I mean, it's probably it's probably about the same size as the Worcester Centrum, like kind of
Which I went to see a house show when I was in I think I was in high school still. And it was over the summer. I went with the man they call Matt, my uncle, and my dad, and my cousin, and we went to see a house show for WWE. It was back when Bret Hart and Yokozuna were wrestling. Wow. And yeah, the Worcester Centrum. Oh my gosh, I just remember. It's definitely one of those feelings you get, like, you see football on TV, but when you go to the actual stadium and you're like, holy crap, this is a football field like in high school. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, it just throws you off because the TV experience warps your perception of reality, and it's just so interesting.
So did you find, did you walk in there and go, oh my gosh, this is huge, or were you like, it's kind of underwhelming?
I don't think I felt it was huge. I think I was surprised by the size of it. It didn't feel like a massive venue, but it was definitely bigger. Later on, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I did see an ECW show at one point, and it was in a smaller venue in Massachusetts. And so that was definitely smaller than the Worcester Centrum, but the Centrum, probably the Whittemore Center at UNH probably ran almost maybe a similar size to it. It didn't feel like it was bigger than that.
No, it has to be.
You think it was bigger than that?
Yeah. Hang on a second.
I could be off.
I can't type.
But while you're typing, one fun story from that is when we were walking into the Centrum, we were going by a place where I think there's access for the wrestlers to drive their cars in and their rental cars to park them. And no joke, we saw outside there was kind of a group congregating, and it was early enough where we got a pretty good spot on the fence there. But none other than the Macho Man Randy Savage was standing outside his rental car. So I got to see the man live and in living color. He did not look happy. He was leaning on his car and talking to someone, and he did not seem very happy. But if you're a fan of wrestling, Randy Savage was a bit of a powder keg. So
yeah. So just did a little quick Google foo here. Worcester Centrum seating capacity of 14,800.
Which isn't that around the Whittemore? I thought
Whittemore Center has a capacity of 6,500, sir. Oh, yeah, because the Worcester Centrum has not like an overhang, but it has 2 levels of seating. The Whittemore Center is a single level.
Okay, then my memory is failing me because I don't remember being wowed by the size of it. But
yeah, because the Nassau Coliseum.
I did go to see Raw in the Whittemore Center when we were going to school at the time.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was good.
So seating capacity. So the seating capacity at Nassau is 16,000.
Okay, so in line with Worcester.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I went to. So it's funny you mentioned going to a house show. I went to a house show, the only wrestling house show I've ever been, or period I've been to, was way back when I was junior high, maybe late elementary school, maybe, where was in Portland, because that was kind of the closest place around. And my, I was used to coming up here with my dad because it was the closest kind of hockey team as well that you could get tickets to. So we would come up here, we'd see the Maine Mariners. And so when wrestling came around, I wasn't going to go to Boston, came up to Portland. So saw it at the old Cumberland County Civic Center. And the main event was Hulk Hogan and Big Boss Man.
Ooh.
It was during that run.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. I wish I could remember what the undercard was. I could probably look it up because I did at one point, but I can't remember who else was on the card. I remember it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it is that sort of feeling of like going into a place. And then I remember having gone to a ton of hockey games and stuff there, and the seating capacity there, I think, is something like 8,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they had, when the Mariners were the farm team affiliate for the Bruins, they had a couple of exhibition games down at the old Boston Garden. So I got to go there for a game, and holy shnikes, like walking in there after being used to going into something like a 6, 7, 8,000 capacity arena, and then going into the old Boston Garden where it was like that cathedral sort of thing where it was like it just went straight friggin' up.
Yeah.
And then the balconies would overhang and everything. It just felt enormous.
Yeah.
It was crazy just how small that felt. And we were like I think we got tickets 2 or 3 rows back from the glass. So that helped even more, because the whole game I'm just looking around going, holy crap, this is huge. But yeah, so where the hell were we going with this? Oh yeah, they were at the 8 names of a Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum on Long Island, New York, site of the first Saturday night's main event back in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh, that's a long ass time ago. Man, I got to say, first and foremost, I love the opening graphics.
Yeah,
I loved how they kind of like did that whole switcheroo of like kind of retro, then retro, but with everybody from today, but then also using the old voices like Gorilla Monsoon, Gene Okerlund being in there. I was like, oh, it's so good to hear Gorilla, man.
Yep.
Just one of the, because that was when I started watching wrestling, was back in the Gorilla Monsoon, Heenan, Superstars of Wrestling, that period of time. And man, Gorilla Monsoon was almost like, he was kind of like your uncle that you saw on TV.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of how he became to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought the blue glasses were kind of cool. Like, I don't know what the hell the reason was for that, but I always just thought that the blue tinted eyeglasses that he always wore, I just thought those were just friggin' awesome.
Yep.
Man, the whole presentation was cool. Having the little stage out in the crowd, was a nice touch.
It was.
When they first showed the entrance and it had like the neon, I was like, oh my gosh, they went all out. Like they just went. But then I realized, like, oh, it's an LED board and they just plopped the graphic on it. But at first, I thought it was like a legit, like the old stand up, thing that they used to. That if they had to tell the guys, like, don't lean on it, it might fall over, that sort of thing. But yeah, the whole presentation I thought was kind of cool. Like having I forget what the Raw the lead announcer's name is now, but with like the bow tie. I thought the whole thing was great. Jesse coming out with the boas and the snakeskin and the glasses. He was a little off at the beginning, I'll say.
Yeah.
But it was still really friggin' cool.
Joe Tessitore. He's actually done a pretty good job from what I've seen. He has.
But yeah, the back and forth was a little rough at first, but Joe kind of managed to pull things around. I think Jesse took a little while for him to get up to speed, and he did better as the evening went on.
There was a point where he brings, I think it was his left hand up a little bit. I don't know if it was to grab the microphone or what he was doing with it, but I could see Jesse shaking a little bit. Like I think it was just those nerves of getting back out there again. And
I mean, how old is he?
70.
Age, let's see here. 73, sir.
Yeah.
And
of course he had to bust a joke on Cody and Dusty Rhodes. He's like, Cody can't be Dusty's son. Cody's got washboard abs. And Dusty got voted, most abs or something like that. Like,
that was actually pretty good.
I
will give him. Jesse is not a young-looking 73 either.
No.
There's some rough mileage there, but you know what? God bless him. You know that dude has not had any kind of surgery of any kind.
No.
he kind of looks like
natural.
He looks like Bernie Sanders crossed with Skeletor. That's kind of where he's at right now. And you know what?
That's accurate.
Good for him. Like, he's making it work.
Good on you.
I'm hoping if that's where I devolve to, that I can work the gimmick as well as he did.
Indeed. I will say one thing that really stood out to me, when you talk about kind of them doing the retro, but also it being, modern. I really love how they brought what they do for the PLEs into this, where they're talking about, the matches, and they're showing, shots of like Cody Rhodes coming out of his bus, and it just had a very professional sports feel to it, which was something that never really was done with the old, Saturday Night's Main Event. So I'm glad they brought that in. I thought that was really good. I thought it was really cool having Ventura come out. I do agree with you. I felt like it was a little forced and a little awkward with their back and forth. But I did enjoy, I watched the first match with my kids, and because I was kind of telling them about how it was when I watched this, in the 80s. And I love how it wasn't just that they brought back the old, iron guardrails to keep the crowd back, but the fact they had them so close.
Yes, like the old school. Like you could tell how so many of them were like, the wrestlers were a little weirded out by that.
Well, right, because they're used to it being a much wider aisle.
Yeah, it's only like 4 feet.
Yes.
4 or 5 feet, and it's usually double that.
Yeah.
Because, people can't reach out and easily touch them in here. It's like people could almost reach across and hold hands.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like, some of them are a little bit like, oh.
Well, and
we knew this is what it was going to look like, but it's a little bit weird.
I hate to pick on them or say it this way, but I did feel for the women a little bit, because I'm sure they were kind of like, keep your hands to yourselves sort of thing.
Although they did have the security there, right? Like behind them.
They did.
And I think that they probably had like where the camera was preceding them down. I can imagine there was another production person there, almost like making sure they were creating like this bubble around them of like, hey, by the way, we know you're here, and if you do something, like
you're out.
You're getting punted out of this place.
Yeah.
But that was a thought for me too. I was like, oh, that's got to be a little bit weird, because unfortunately, there's just fracking creeps everywhere.
There are,
who think that they're entitled because they bought. There's people do that with like yelling at refs and all that stuff, and it's okay, fine, get on the refs a little bit, but when you start getting to a point of it being like over the line, it's like, just because you bought a ticket doesn't mean that you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yes.
And obviously that's happened in the past at different sporting events. Like, people think they can lay their hands on an athlete, and you just want to make sure that you don't have to do that to like Ron Artest. It's bad business.
Agreed.
But that was kind of cool. And again, like having them come out through the, and it's not all that special, because they still kind of do that at some where they have the dog leg in the entryway.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of that is, because it doesn't seem like it's completely necessary, but
unless it's a seating thing where they can get more seats in, by angling it that way, as opposed to doing a straight shot. One thing it's going to sound weird to say, I was a little disappointed they still had the video stuff going on in the entryway. I was kind of hoping they were just going to go with a static.
Yeah.
If you're really going to go retro, like go retro,
well, the thing is, they're not. It's sort of like Star Trek. Like they're going to go retro to a certain point. They're going to pay homage, but at the same time, like, you'd have to go so far back and degrade your presentation.
Yeah.
The whole, and they were very good about this in terms of like welcoming new viewers. Like, even though I don't know how much that's really a thing, they were kind of doing like the whole original Saturday Night Main Event, where they're like, hey, this is going to catch viewers who don't usually watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And they did seem to kind of do that. And as far as like, I think the vignettes that they did to explain the angles, I think the the ways that they kind of presented the wrestlers, and
Mhm.
because they've been doing this before as far as like
Right.
their accomplishments and stuff, but they were very much like on that.
Yeah.
Even to the point of in the triple threat match, they kind of had the breakdown, like tail of the tape, like weight and all that stuff. And
That I was so impressed by that. And
Yeah.
and even when the wrestlers were coming down to to the ring, the stats they were flashing up, which again, they're not trying to treat it like a legitimate sport in the sense of what a basketball or baseball game is, but I love that sports feel they were trying to bring to it. There were records they were flashing up, like this person has never. I think for Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, they brought up the fact that Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, has never beat McIntyre. McIntyre's always beaten him. I love those little bits. The funniest one was when Finn Balor came down to the ring once again wearing the stupid bag over his head. But I love the fact that like every other wrestler, they just listed stats. When they get to Finn Balor, it's 2 stats and betrayed Damian Priest at SummerSlam, which I'm like, how is that a stat?
Well,
it's like,
but the thing is, like, it's
context setting is what they're trying to do.
But it's also incredibly smart, like doing that for specifically this crowd, like the TV audience that you're hoping to get in there, because it's playing to a specific genre. It's sports TV. Like, people see sports on TV, they're expecting to see like the thing at the bottom that has the score and all the vital statistics, but then they're also expecting to see like those chevrons come up with like, hey, and this person's made the All-Pro, or this is their current stats in the game, or their quarterback rating is this, or whatever it is, whatever sport you're in. Set an all-time record for assists, whatever. By doing that, people are a little more familiar with it. So like, oh wow, hey, wrestling is kind of okay. I recognize this, the way this looks.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll hang around for a few minutes,
Yeah.
and whatever you have to do to try and gain viewers. I mean, even though, let's be honest, WWE ain't hurting for cash these days. You can always get more viewers.
Yeah.
And they're showing that they're fairly aggressive in doing that. And that's a great way of doing it. And also it works for the fans as well. Like the people who are already fans, like I appreciated it. I thought that was kind of cool, and it's extra information, and it puts a twist on the program that, let's face it, like when I started kind of getting back into this a few years ago, back when, he who shall not be named was still in charge of things, the TV products look a lot like the Attitude Era to me still. It was very much the same, and now we're dealing with a very different TV product. Like it feels different, and it feels like it's, I don't know, it feels more, I don't want to say realistic. It feels more honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know that I can explain why, but it does.
No, I agree.
And I think that they kind of carry that over. I think it was a good showcase for the company. And let's face it, that's what it really was. This was not going to be a PLE. It was not going to have any drastic stuff happening.
I was kind of hoping they were going to do something to spice it up a little bit.
Well, where was it? Hang on a second. Crap. It was one match. I noted it down. Hang on. I've got my handwritten notes that are like hastily written. During the Priest Gunther Balor match, Cole mentioned, that there's only been 2 championship changes in Saturday Night Main Event history. I was like, that's not as great of a selling point as you might think it is, Cole. It means that ain't nothing really important happening tonight. But thanks for playing.
Yeah. Appreciate the participation.
Go put on your singlet and your headgear. Basically. It wasn't going to. This is a showcase for the product and to try and draw people in. And in that respect, I think they did a good job. They had a pretty damn solid show here. Nothing that was going to be earth-shattering or anything like that, but it was a good, solid show. It was basically Raw, SmackDown plus. And I would say quite a bit plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in that case it was great, and it was a good thing for a lot of longtime fans. Like the first time I noticed, like, oh my gosh, the refs are wearing the old blue shirt with like the bow ties.
Ties. Yep.
Oh
yep.
Gosh. And then noticing like, oh, the red, white, and blue ring ropes.
Yep.
Okay, that's kind of cool. And of course they couldn't go the full on old school WWF logo, but they're retro WW,
Yes,
which is a little weird.
it is. Weird.
It worked. You know,
I would looks like Wonder Woman a little bit, doesn't it?
It really does. I would have said, like, if you can't do the WWF, just do WWE. Like, just throw that last bar on the bottom.
Wee.
I mean, well, that's what it looks like, anyways. But I guess they do just have the WW in their main logo. I don't know. It kind of looked a little weird with that chrome effect on it, but it was still cool. Yeah. Overall, I mean, are we rating like the intro and kind of overall presentation, or what are we doing here?
Well, I mean, I think we're just talking through it. I didn't really throw any ratings on anything. I mean, I talked about things being average, above, or below average. That was about it. But
okay. So you didn't rate any of the matches?
Did you?
I did, actually.
I can whip them up if you want. Okay.
Because I mean, honestly, intro Jesse Ventura, like overall aesthetic impressions, I give this a 4.25 stars. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it walked the line very nicely between still showing like this is a modern product, but also going like, hey, and that also involves the winged eagle.
We'll get to that.
That because that did
the intro to
play a
me
part
was 3.5. I was a little like Jesse was a little rough. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
He's 73 fracking years old. What do you want?
Hey. You
wanted to reanimate Gorilla Monsoon? Zombie Monsoon?
I have a high bar, and I want that bar met. So.
Oh, jeez. Oh, on that note, I'm going to have to take a 30-second break.
I am in 5th place in the fantasy league, so I just want to just... Oh, boy. Yeah, I figured as much.
A few minutes later.
All right, I had to put the sweater on.
Should I throw the hood back up to?
I mean, if it makes you feel better, it's not going to help me.
I'm feeling pretty good actually. This Penelope is keeping me nice and warm.
Oh, well, that's good to hear.
But for me, the intro, I would put. I mean, it was very well done. Definitely felt the retro aspect of it. I would probably put it though at a 3.5. I don't know if it goes up as far as a 4. 4 is kind of rarefied air. You know what I mean?
Well, so. Yeah. I'm including the overall aesthetic because I don't know.
Nothing against your rating. It's how you felt. It's how you experienced it, and that's all good. So,
feeling so friggin' belittled this episode. I can't even tell you,
dude. Little snug.
That's the way you felt.
No belittling going on here, sir. It is your opinion, and I respect it.
It's your opinion.
What? It is. And tell me when I'm telling lies. Anywho. All right. First match on the docket, sir, was Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. And, I don't know if you felt this too, throughout the show. And you kind of touched on this a little bit because they had at least the forethought to, try to bring the audience up to speed on what was going on, to help them understand the drama of, what was going into the match. And, so I did feel like there was an element of this was kind of like a dumbed down version of.
This answer your question?
She's just like come out of her little shuttle.
Is the snow falling out yet?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I just got some side eyes, so there's thoughts.
Special guest, Kaylin. Is she bringing the heat?
Hello. Hi. Okay, you definitely have to speak. You can't nod. You're off camera.
This is not a visual medium.
Thank you.
Or it's halfway visual.
So what's going on with Kaylin this evening?
Nothing much.
Tell her congrats on the college acceptances.
Yes.
Plural.
Tim would like to congratulate you on the acceptance to UNH as 2 UNH alumni, even though they don't have the program that you wanted. But congratulations.
As well as the other ones. Let her know.
and all the others as well. So I believe you're what? You're 9 for 13 at this moment.
10.
What was the 10th?
UNH.
Okay, my counting was off.
Uncle
which is
Todd
not
is
that
not
unusual.
Uncle Todd is not a master of the maths, as we have come to understand. So
Tim's giving me a hard time about my math issues.
you say it yourself.
Sounds right.
He's just.
Yeah.
You know, just gonna start doing this show by myself.
A little snug.
So, do we have anything from Kaylin's Comedy Corner this week?
Any
Mm,
Star Wars jokes? No.
no.
Fantasy football jokes?
Just the pain and suffering of the world,
Mm-hmm.
misery, and just downtroddenness.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so are you off to bed now? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything to say besides mm-hmm?
Is she going to read?
Mm-mm.
That's what I thought. Are you going to be reading this evening?
Probably not.
Whoa.
Oh, boy.
What time is it? Okay. Well,
9:37. You're watching Perspectives. I had to throw it in there. Come on now.
you're glad that you're not hooked into the audio on this, is all I'm saying.
Crying sesh, so if my eyes are red, that's the reason why.
Why did you have a crying session?
'Cause I'm stressed out and exhausted, and then I had an argument with Mom because she doesn't know why I'm stressed or exhausted, and I was telling her why, and she's like, I don't get why. And yeah, then we got into an argument, and
Don't mess with
Yeah.
Mama Regalinsky.
Well, I kind of actually heard some of it as I was trying to do the show, so
Oh, dear.
we'll see if it bleeds through on the playback.
yeah.
I didn't hear anything.
All righty. Well, on all those notes, good night. Sweet dreams. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite, which is a horrifying way to put a child to bed.
It is.
Can we just say that?
It is.
Every time
Who
I've
came
slept
up
and
with
said that, I felt
and
horrible.
Thinking
And
it
I'm-
would be something, that would comfort someone. It just,
Yeah, I don't know. We're all in therapy.
don't
because
let the bed bugs bite. Oh, sleep well. Ha! Sorry.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Was it good?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Except I came at a really horrible time because then afterwards I just got more and more stressed and anxious. So now I have to wait like 4 weeks till I see her again.
But luckily, there's always the void to scream into.
Uh-huh. That's actually a really good idea.
Occasionally, I do have them.
Except I can't scream because that's considered a noise complaint on Mom's behalf.
This emo segment has been brought to you by
I got nothing. I got nothing. Except good night and I love you.
I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight.
Well, good luck with that.
We're rooting for you.
All right. Get some sleep. You'll feel better. And try not to cross Mom between now and when you get to your bedroom.
Tell her to approach her
Alrighty.
bedroom Section 31 style.
Good night. Well,
Sir, I salute you. Good. Oh, my God. I can only imagine what's going through your head right now. What the hell? Yeah. Hey, aren't you? Good Lord. Honestly, nothing has bled through the audio. I had no idea there was any drama going on in the background.
well, luckily we got Granny's rheumatism medicine here.
Well, sir, imbibe and imbibe deeply.
So where were we? McIntyre Zane, I believe.
McIntyre Zane.
Yes.
The entrances well done. It was very cool to see them both coming down the slendered aisle. And this match was really, I mean, kind of the thread of my comments throughout this event is I didn't feel like there was anything that really blew me away. I felt like these matches were not necessarily PLE level. Felt in some ways Raw and SmackDown level almost. But no, I mean Drew and Sammy had a good back and forth. I thought it was an average match between them. There was a nice touch. For some reason, I wrote down nice touch introducing the crowd. I don't know what I meant by that, but maybe what I think maybe what I meant by that was I liked how they were trying to, as I was talking through, bringing the crowd into the context of the story of why these two are fighting and trying and that much I could tell throughout the show is that they weren't running this like a Raw or a SmackDown where they just assumed the audience, kind of understood where they were coming from. Like, I think they were trying to educate as they were trying to tell a story.
Yes.
And both, McIntyre and Zayn, put on a great match. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a bad match. It just didn't blow me out of the water.
Well, let me know if this makes sense as a way to kind of maybe sum up what you're saying and also kind of how I felt. It felt like a Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre greatest hits.
Yeah.
Like it or like a medley.
Yeah.
Actually, is probably a better way to put it. Like, so you get a little bit of of all the best hits, but you're not getting all the full songs.
Right.
Because my main comment about this is about what you'd expect. Drew with lots of power moves, Sammy as the overeager face who gets caught, but it did its job, and honestly, the crowd was into it, and that is, I mean, this crowd was
well, and I like how they started
pretty damn good.
I like how they started the match. I mean, Sammy goes in there and he just starts going to town.
Yes,
the match just kind of starts. Drew hasn't gotten his old garb off yet. So I mean, I liked how they started it because they were trying to bring the energy. And they were trying to bring the action, and I thought it was great that way. What really interesting, my kids have not been following the product, and I'm watching this match with them, and Drew puts away Sammy, and I remember, I don't know if it was my eldest or my youngest who said this, but they were just like, that was it, like, and it wasn't, I don't think it was to denigrate, the move that McIntyre does, but admittedly, that Claymore was not as visually striking as he typically can be.
Yeah.
And so I think it just felt a little kind of like, like, why did this guy go down? Like, this just seemed like he just booted him in the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there was a little something lost in that. But I think it was the right call to have Drew go over. I think we're in I don't think Drew needs to be rebuilt. But I think there is an element of he's got to get some momentum under him because, he is the one who lost the feud with Punk. And he's kind of like this, this renegade who's going after members of the bloodline. And so you need to build some sort of viciousness into him or a threat into him, and if he loses, it's like, well, what does that even mean then? I mean, Sammy can take the loss. Sammy in a lot of ways is like Chris Jericho, right? He can take the loss, he can absorb it, he doesn't lose anything, he's just taking a loss and moves on,
Well, but because he manages to still look strong, because the thing is, like, Sammy does not look like he should be in the ring with most of these guys anyways. Like, as soon as he takes off his sweat, his hoodie, you're like, how the hell is this dude hanging with any of these people? Like, he ain't big. He's got a little bit of a belly, and trust me, Sammy, I ain't saying nothing. I'm not saying anything negative because I got me a little belly. I got a bigger belly than you do right now, and I ain't happy about it. But as far as, like, you go up against someone who's like Drew McIntyre, that dude's a freaking unit. And Sammy still held his own. He got a lot of his stuff in. And that's why I say, like, he's the over-eager face. Like, it comes off as he was just too over-eager. He was pushing his advantage too much, and Drew caught him. And even in that, you can even play off of that as the Claymore didn't look that devastating. It's like, he caught him lucky.
Yeah.
And so it did its job. And if getting the crowd into it is the job, they did it.
Yep.
They popped the crowd. The crowd seemed pretty, happy with the match. So I was pretty happy with it. Granted, I did not rate it highly. I gave it 3 stars because it was kind of a mix between a Haas match and a bigger, smaller kind of sort of thing. But it was a perfectly good match. Like you said, it's kind of like a plus TV match, but still, I mean, hey, perfectly good, serviceable opener.
I could go 2.5 to 3 stars on this one, honestly. I mean, it was a serviceable match. It was well done. It had energy to it. It just didn't kick into another gear. And
it's also not a blow off. Like we're
not.
catching the story in the somewhat early stages.
Yeah.
So there is that as well. Like you have to have room to go. Like they aren't going to go out there and just beat the hell out of each other for 30, 40 minutes. Like that's just not going to happen.
Right. Yep. No, agreed.
Yeah. No, I can agree with yours too. I mean, I thought it was above average, but I mean, it's not that far above.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to put this at I'll put it at 3.0.
Oh, look at you being generous.
I'll put it at 3.0 stars on that one.
And let's see here. Next, we have
for the WWE Women's World Championship, we have the champion Liv Morgan versus Io Sky, which
the Genius of the Air, I believe, which is one of the cooler nicknames.
Genius of the Air?
Is it Genius of the Air? What is it?
You may be right on that one.
Hang on, let me see.
If by genius they mean throw a garbage can over your head and jump and hope to God you hit someone.
Well, I mean, if you don't break your neck, then let's see here. Nickname. Let's see here. Genius of the Sky. Sorry.
Okay.
See, to me, like that just seems a little repetitive. Like Io Sky, the Genius of the Sky. It's like, you got to have that second one be a little different. But hey, I'm not doing creative.
Yeah.
But
no, I think this one was, the ending I think was not in question. I don't think there was any threat of Io Sky winning, here, which, that's where I get torn about it because it's one of those situations where it's like, she's not going to take the title, but you understand why they're doing the title match. Like they're trying to bring some juice to the event. They're giving Liv Morgan a title defense. I thought overall the match was booked pretty well. I don't feel like it was too clunky. I think they, I'm just trying to look at my notes here. I have, good start to the match with the action.
Really good chemistry, I thought, between these two.
Good chemistry.
It was a little
I got to tell you,
jerky at one point, but
commercials are killing me in this event. Commercials are absolutely.
So you were watching this live, right?
I was watching this live.
I did not. I watched it after the fact. So, and the commercials were definitely a sticking point from a couple things that I've read online. I wonder, and one person going as far as like, did WWE forget how to book a show on regular TV?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a difference between cable and network TV. Because you're on NBC, you're on like one of the major networks. So, but then again, they're on SmackDown was on Fox forever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it was maybe there was a higher commercial demand and they just had to kind of suck it up and deal with it, or I don't know. But yeah, that was a big complaint, and I'll have a humongous complaint when we get to the main event.
Yeah.
But watching it after the fact, I just had a quick little blip in and blip out, so it didn't bother me. But yeah, I can see that being a problem.
Well, there was a pattern to the first 3 matches where they did the intros, the match would start, and then they get to a point in the action, and they would go to commercial. And it just kind of, to me, it took some energy out of the match because you're taken out of the match. You're watching the commercials. You're brought back into the match. Some action has happened. It's nothing terribly consequential, but the match is still going on, and it just feels strange,
Yeah.
But the notes I have on this one are, great physical match, nasty knee by Io Sky toward Liv Morgan at the end. But she hits her finisher and that looks really solid. I probably put this match at like a 3.5. I think it was an above average title match, even though the finish wasn't in doubt, but I mean, it was physical,
Yes.
and what kind of took away from it just a little bit was we did have that little botch where Io kind of slipped on the ropes, but she recovered really well.
Yeah, they did rally for the finish on that one. Yeah, I had note for that. I thought the triple Germans that she did looked weak.
Yeah.
It instead of an actual slam, like for a good suplex, and again, folks, we know nobody's trying to hurt each other. They're coordinating and all that, but there is a way to do it where the impact it seems like it could hurt. That's the great secret of some of the greatest wrestlers like Bret Hart and stuff like that. They can make stuff look devastating, and yet they're barely touching you.
Yeah.
But those Germans almost looked like she was gently placing Liv on the mat, and I'm like, now granted, German suplex to me it's not a power move, but it's heading in that direction. Like it is like you're yeeting your opponent up over your head, and that's a muscle move right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's Io Sky's forte. So I get that. But again, I think it was a good showcase for the women in WWE, and for anyone who hadn't really seen WWE product or wrestling for a long time. Like to see these two women go out there, you could have done a lot worse for a pairing. Like, good God. I mean, I'm hoping that Nia Jax was not only not in the arena, but she was not even within like 3 states of this, just to make sure that she wouldn't be called into service. The only way you could have done this better was Rhea Ripley being in a match, but I think they're saving that one. Not to mention, I think Rhea's probably still recovering, and they want to try and keep her out of action a little bit if they can. Of course, they have her show up at the end because, I mean, yeah, she's over everywhere on the friggin' internet right now. So of course they're going to bring her out just to even have a face down. I mean, it wasn't a great match, but I'll give this one 3.5 stars. Just on the basis that it was a good showcase for the women. I mean, you only have 2 women's matches on here, and they were both really good, I thought. Not PLE quality, but damn good matches.
Yep.
I mean, Liv Morgan, oh my gosh, Liv Morgan to me impresses me so much with her work, and not just work is in wrestling, but her reactions, the way she sells, everything. Like she over the last year has really shown me a lot, because I didn't think much about her prior to injury and all that stuff. And now it's like, wow, she's real good. Real good.
Well, the thought that occurred to me is and they talked about this, is just the length of her title reign and the fact that they've done such a great job of, like, obviously Rhea can size wise, Rhea's just bigger than her, and probably could tear her apart in reality. I love how they've booked it so that,
I don't know, Liv's scrappy. She kind of scares me.
No,
Rhea
she
scares
is.
me.
She
Liv scares me in
is.
another way. Like she cut you.
No, yeah, fair enough. But I just feel like they've done a great job of, when I look at the fact that she's held the belt since basically WrestleMania or shortly after it, when Rhea got injured, and has done so much with that reign, where she's, like the aura of her is so much bigger than it was when she came back, and I think, I don't know if they can milk this all the way to WrestleMania, but it feels like if they can just milk it a little bit longer, you know what I mean? Like she's just done such a great job. And I think it's more interesting to have Rhea chase her than for Rhea to be the champion, because Rhea is just so dominant. She just is. And there's a time and a place for that, but it's like, if they can just get to WrestleMania with it, I think that's when Rhea gets the win. And now you let Rhea kind of do her thing after that, and just try to make it interesting throughout. But the problem is they've done a few different, left and right turns with that story, that it's almost kind of like it's getting, it may run its course before WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like it may not be as much of an exciting sort of confrontation because of how many times they would have faced off at that point.
I mean, the fact is, it just might not be that. It might not. I mean, not every feud has to culminate at WrestleMania, and it might
That's
be just
fair.
that this is the time that culminates, and then Liv is on to something else. And
or maybe Rhea takes the title back at Royal Rumble, and there's rumors that Charlotte Flair is coming back. And now
that's WrestleMania.
Yep.
Because I mean, honestly, and then you really start getting into like how many main events can you have at WrestleMania? Because Rhea, Charlotte, like a completely healthy Charlotte and a heel Charlotte.
Yep.
That's gonna be a hell of a match, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a hell of a match.
Agreed.
Woo.
Agreed.
Oh, you sold me on that. I'm in. I'm in already. You son of a bitch. Yeah, good match.
But Mickey loves you.
Thanks.
Get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you.
Oh my gosh, how did that scene get cut?
Oh.
How did that scene get cut?
Is
like an angel on your shoulder.
Is that kind of the pattern of Rocky? Is those great scenes getting cut? Because if you recall, if you will, from Creed 2, we had that great scene with Adonis.
And Drago. Yeah, the post was
Drago's son and Drago.
Yeah.
And whenever I watch that clip and I go through the comments, every single comment is like, how on earth did they cut this? Like,
I don't know.
This was so instrumental to the story, and it really sucks that it's not part of the actual film.
Yeah.
But
I would agree.
All right. Well, anyway,
release the Drago cut.
Release the Drago cut. Okay. So Liv Morgan. So one comment I have about after the match, when Liv Morgan's going down the aisle, we have Rhea Ripley come out, and she does her shtick.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this down because I'm like, this felt so out of place, because I feel like between her and Liv, not that it's at the level of Punk and McIntyre, and I don't mean to set that bar because it maybe is not fair, but I feel like Liv and Rhea are at a blood feud level. You know what I mean? Like they
yes.
Everything about this feud is Rhea hates Liv. Mm-hmm. And for her to just come out and do her like whole shtick and then stand there and stare at her, I was like,
so here's the thing. You got to understand, like, this, and I think there's, I haven't read extensively, but it does seem like there's a bit of a sort of meh sort of feeling once you get past the kind of the retro feel and the warm fuzzies a lot of folks our age get from seeing this show that presents the way it was. There's a lot of hardcore fans who are just like, oh, this wasn't great, it was mid, it was meh, whatever. It ain't for you. Like, yeah, this is our December PLE, but let's face it, like, there's so much crap going on between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble with like the Netflix debut. This was never going to be earth-shattering. This is sort of like it's a little bit of a Scooby snack to hardcore fans. Be like, hey, here's an extra thing. Here's some extra programming. Here's some extra matches. But this is really about trying to grab new fans. And that's the whole reason of doing this. It's a whole, and that is probably the most retro aspect of this show of them all, because that was the purpose of the original Saturday Night's Main Event. It was to try and capitalize on the hot streak, on WrestleMania, on the Rock and Roll Connection, on all of those things, Mr. T. It was trying to capitalize on all of that to bring in more fans, to try and introduce fans into wrestling and be like, hey, even if we catch 10% of this network audience, that's big money. That's money for us. Draw me money, goes back a long ass way. So that's kind of the most retro aspect of this, is that WWE is trying to do that same thing. And so, of course, Rhea Ripley is going to be on there, because if they could have found a way that made sense for CM Punk to show up, they would have. Yeah. But honestly, I mean, in terms of, for wrestling fans, CM Punk is a huge draw. Huge, oh my gosh, instant pop, cult of personality. Would have popped the arena. Rhea Ripley is going to pop the average person who might not watch wrestling, but has kind of scrolled through their suggested stuff on Instagram, because you can't go on on friggin' social media and not see random Rhea Ripley videos. Like apparently she was live on TikTok or whatever, just like doing housework or whatever, and it's like it's getting thousands and thousands of views. So I mean, of course they're going to find a way to bring her out and do her shtick. Like, and I'm sure in some ways everyone involved is like, isn't this kind of lame?
Mhm.
And it's like, yup, but you know what? This isn't for our audience.
Yeah.
This is for an audience that we're trying to capture, and this is going to get eyeballs.
And that and that did occur to me when that happened. It just that's where it started to feel different from other programming. It's kind of like, okay,
Granted, yeah, totally.
I kind of get it, but
yeah,
at the same time, it's like this is kind of where they are right now. It should be more than just a stare down. You know what I mean? And that's the part that felt very inorganic to me. But
and I think it's one of those. Sorry, I got an itch right at the sock line. It's one of those things. Man, there's that thing where it's like you can deal with some itches and some discomfort, but when it's right there, where it's like it's like catching it right there.
I hear
like,
you.
You got to deal with it. I think that there are some aspects of this that you just have to look at in a bubble.
Yeah.
That it's like these things are not for you.
Yep.
Like the Jesse Ventura thing, kind of for hardcore fans, but also not. Like they're trying to catch on some of that, and there's some things, and they try to blend them as well as they could, but some of it's just going to be a little janky. That was one of them, for sure.
Yep.
But at the same time, like I'm so in the bag. I'm almost as in the bag for Rhea Ripley as I am for Katie Sackhoff. So whatever Rhea wants to do, fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just bear through it, I guess.
Fair enough.
Oh boy.
Fair enough.
So where are we now, sir, in the grand scheme of things?
So we are now at the triple threat world championship match between Gunther, the defending champion, versus Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
How many matches we have here? Was it a fiver?
This was a fiver. This was a Triple H special right here.
So when are we gonna start calling this the Triple H 5 matches of doom? A little homage to John Cena.
We could start now. We could start
#, Triple H 5 matches of doom.
I like calling it the Triple H special.
That is pretty good. Although I'm sure someone's going to make some sort of a comment about Stephanie there, and it's anyways. Yes, the triple threat for the World Championship with the Ring General.
And you did mention the tail of the tape, and I made a note of this because it was in the transition from the women's match into the into this match. But very well done. I really appreciated the stats and information that they flashed up on each of the participants in this match, and I felt it. It gave again I recognize it is a predetermined, event, but at the same time, I love how they just bring that kind of sports feel to it.
Yes.
And so
totally.
I think it enhanced it a lot. And, definitely in the entrances, one thing I noted was, Gunther definitely was not I was wondering if he was going to start kind of turning face a little bit.
Fan of the slim aisle.
No.
Going all out and be like,
he's just like, get the hell off of me. What you
almost did everything but go, ew.
Plebeians, what are you doing touching me?
Oh yeah, that was great.
Oh my gosh.
Priest getting a little bit of a hometown pop.
Yep.
I mean, it's Long Island, but it's New
York.
In
his house.
Finn Balor, of course, I had to remark, I'm like, what is it with him and masks? Like, hasn't somebody pulled him aside? I mean, in a way, I do kind of get it, like coming down and then he takes it off. Because when he does take the mask off, the face underneath, like, I don't know.
It's just that it's a faceless bag. That's all it is.
Yeah. I think part of the problem is I feel like Finn has been, and I'm hoping this is changing with kind of what they're doing with him now. I feel like his character has been so kind of devalued over the last few years. Because at one point I saw an article where he's like, he talked about how, the demon, has been not booked very well. I'm like, dude, I hate to tell you, but it ain't been just the Demon. It's your entire career over the last couple of years has not been booked very well. Sorry, sir. The truth hurts. I feel it might be turning around a little bit here. I did feel like I really enjoyed his placement in this match because it gave the ability to have your Haas match, between Gunther and Damian Priest, and then Finn was able to be that wild card. And so you got this kind of very interesting take on a triple threat where, depending on who was really active at the moment, it changed the entire dynamic of the match, which to me made this a very entertaining match to watch. I think I really enjoyed this match quite a bit.
Yep.
It was interesting hearing Gunther get cheers at a couple points.
Yep.
Like, he was definitely getting a face reaction at a couple moments. Like, not overwhelming, but it was there, which is kind of surprising because, again, you've got Damian, who's, he's a New York fella, okay, well, all right, I guess we're going to root for, the German. Okay, it's one way to go. The move of the match for me, I loved that moment when Gunther and Finn are kind of facing off, and then Damian runs in between them, causes them to both kind of go, huh? And then comes off the rope and does a double clothesline.
Yeah.
I was like, that was, I don't really remember seeing that happen in too many matches. So that was kind of cool. Just like the fact that, like, instead of initially just trying to hit them both, he did like the, kind of the bamboozle, and then came back and bashed them. The bamboozle and bash, I think we should call that.
Yep.
Uncle Corny would love that.
He would.
But I thought that was great. Second, my favorite to that was Priest going old school, walking the top rope.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it's like, could we try to make him the Undertaker 2.0 any harder? Like, but then he did something weird. He didn't do the clothesline off of it. He did something different. I forget what it was, but it wasn't truly old school. But I was like, is he? Yep. Is he going to get a call after this? Like,
the heck?
You start rolling your eyes in the back of the head, we're going to have a problem.
Yep.
But yeah, I've rambled about this. What were your thoughts on this match, sir? How did you feel about this one?
So this match, what do I have for notes? I talked about the stats already with, with Gunther. I love how they were, calling out his long title reigns and just, his dominance. Priest, they kept it very, kind of numeric in nature. But when they get to Balor, it's like, like one of his stats is he betrayed Priest at SummerSlam.
Yes.
Which, again, I appreciate from a storytelling context perspective, but it just was kind of funny.
It's not a stat.
It's not a stat. That's.
I mean, if they put it like, betrayals of Damian Priest at SummerSlam.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Okay,
but
now technically it's a stat.
What I noted was a nice hard-hitting start to the match. I mean, this match, these guys were just pounding on each other.
Yeah.
You mentioned the old school from Priest. One thing of note is really the ending where Gunther goes to get Priest up in a power bomb, and there's something happens there where it doesn't go as smoothly as they want, but he recovers very nicely. And not only does he recover, but he safely plants Priest on the stairs. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
a lot of strength, because he had him like off
100%.
the ground for a while.
100%.
And even with Priest helping him, like, that is primarily on Gunther's back.
Yep. and one thing I saw on I think it's its own article, but on Cage Side Seats was on Monday, the statement of Gunther has, it's not his confidence back, but something about, because the story they were telling with Priest and Gunther was,
Gunther got his groove back.
Gunther got his groove back. And
I don't even know if that's what it actually said, but it sounds real
it's something around that, because of the fact that, he nails Priest. Priest is out of the picture. He goes in the ring and he just nails Finn Balor with that just nasty looking power bomb and pins him.
What was it? Who did he nail
and he just looks
his
dominant.
drop kick on? I think Michael Cole had once called it like the Tyrannosaurus, or Matt McAfee called it like the Tyrannosaurus Rex drop kick or something. And it does. I'm like, that is the best description of it.
Sounds about right.
By the way, Pat McAfee back once again.
That's right. Yes.
Now that his football obligations are done. So we got a little bit of McAfee before January 6th. Now, what happens on January 6th? Is Cole going back to Raw? And it's going to be...
I don't know.
Because, I mean...
I think Joe Tessitore keeps it going on Raw.
Okay.
With what's his name?
So then we get Cole and Graves. Well, no, because McAfee's going back to... I thought McAfee was going to be on Raw.
Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore have been doing Raw.
Yeah.
And then
so
Graves
Wade's
and
going away?
Michael Cole. No, they're doing SmackDown.
All right, wait a minute. So I'm confused. So who's doing SmackDown? Cole and...
I think Cole and Graves are doing SmackDown.
Okay, and then Tessitore and
Wade Barrett are doing Raw.
But McAfee is coming back on January 6th. So is it going to be a three-man?
Could be a
booth?
three-man then. I think it might be a three-man booth.
I don't know that I like that. McAfee talks way... well, then
he
that
does.
might tone him down a little bit much.
He does.
Anyways, so yeah, McAfee back. But I love that drop kick. I absolutely love that drop kick.
Yep.
Because it does. It looks like a human being that large should not be able to jump like that. And it looks kind of awkward, but also devastating. Love it.
So I'm going to go 4-0 on this one because this really kind of stood out in the entire event. I really enjoyed this match, and I thought it reestablished Gunther as a dominant champion.
You know, I had this one as a 3 3/4, but you know what? You've talked me into it. I'm going to go with a 4 right across the board as well, because it was a fun match.
It was.
It really was. It was just a good time, and that's really kind of what you want out of these.
And the thing I liked the most was, especially thinking about the fact that there might be some people who don't normally watch the product, is it was a great showcase, for all three men, but especially for Gunther. And
yes,
getting him established as kind of a badass, in terms of what he can do. I'm kind of hoping that won, some people over who maybe don't normally watch wrestling, because it really was. It was a very physical match, and as most of Gunther's matches are. And so I think the more they can, exhibit that realism in the action, I think that pulls people in, because it tempers a little bit of the, it's fake sort of, opinion of what wrestling is.
And I think it can also appeal to some of the old timers who might not have watched wrestling in a long time, because now all of a sudden they see him and they're like, wait a minute, I kind of recognize, like kind of the old school, like a Bret Hart, or who's another kind of old school Graps kind of guy.
You had someone like Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'm thinking of guys who didn't have that chiseled physique. Like I think Gunther again still looks great and has lost a lot of weight, but I don't look at him as
day compared to where he was before. Hell yeah,
yeah, but not someone who's the washboard abs sort of thing. Trying to think who else. Yeah, Bret Hart.
But I mean, just that
Kurt Angle.
But I'm thinking
Kurt Angle
like
was never known for his physique, but he also wore a singlet that kind of hid a lot of that.
But I think I'm talking more like 80s, like those back when it was like
Mr.
arm
Perfect.
drags. Yeah,
Mr. Perfect is another good one. Trying to think who else. What else do we have? Tito Santana.
But yeah, he's kind of that old school guy who he's not going to do. He doesn't do the high flying stuff,
right.
And it does. Yeah, no, it's a perfect blend between kind of the WWF of the 80s, kind of arm drag, this and that and the other, and suplexes and all that, but also mixing with some of that like Southern Ric Flair with the chops and kind of the more physical, striking that was kind of, where you might see some blood, that sort of thing.
Yep.
He's a good mixture of that. He's a good throwback while still having a bit of a modern twist.
Yes, I would agree. All right. From the Triple Threat World Championship match, we move on to the inaugural WWE Women's U.S. Championship match between Michin and Chelsea Green.
Oh, no, put a little respect on her name. Who?
Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green.
Oh, I was
can't
trying.
do it. Yeah. I do miss Samantha Irving for that.
Do I need to put the hood on for that, or?
No, I don't know if that's hood worthy.
All right. But no, I thought this was a solid match. I mean, I honestly put this at kind of like a 3-0. I mean, this didn't blow me away, but it was a good match for the both superstars involved. I liked early on, Mitchin had kind of a nasty upside down. I called it an octopus. I don't know if it was quite that submission maneuver, but she does this move on the ropes where she kind of grabs Chelsea's arms and legs and kind of locks her up in the ropes, which was kind of nasty looking.
Is that a tarantula?
It could be a tarantula. Yeah. I did feel like of the women's matches during that evening, this was probably one of the ones that was a little more sloppy. There were some, there were some spots that were missed. It felt like there were some.
It was a little looser.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In terms of like, when I say that, for me, and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, or if I have I have the wrong perspective here. When I don't feel like there was botches per se. I feel like the moves were a little bit farther apart, so you could see kind of that. You could see the theatricalness or the coordination of the athleticism, as opposed to sometimes when you see a couple of wrestlers who can work really well, like they get so close and the move happens so tightly that it looks like, well, hell yeah, of course, he just powered him over. Right. When in fact, like, the other person is helping, but it's so locked in tight and it's so quick and coordinated that it looks natural.
Yeah.
You totally buy into the illusion of like, oh yeah, that guy just totally carried him over. I felt like they were a little bit looser, but I actually felt like they had good chemistry. And I had the thing that's been mind blowing to me is realizing over the last, couple days here, just like how long Chelsea Green's been at this. Like I did not realize she's been wrestling for this long, and especially didn't know that these two had history going back to, what was it, TNA?
Yes.
And I think the chemistry showed, but I think they were probably they were a little off. I mean, hey, it friggin' happens. Everybody has an off night, like, and it wasn't a terrible night. It was just a little bit off. But overall, I mean, I still think they had pretty good chemistry, even though some of the stuff you're like, yeah, I can see the wires that are, hanging the stuff from the ceiling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, still a pretty good showcase. And honestly, like I've come to gain a ton of respect for Chelsea Green and her ability for selling, her ability for bumping, even her ability of just like kind of getting the crowd behind her, because she was again another heel getting cheers from the crowd.
Yep.
Which I'm like, what's going on? Like, do they really like the selfie tights that much? Maybe. Which apparently
that was a great outfit she came down to the
it was
ring with. I mean, where it has her face like all over it.
Yeah.
It was just like ridiculous, but it was really funny.
Which is because that's the thing now. Like my wife actually got me a Hawaiian shirt with her face all over it, because this is a thing you can do now.
Alrighty then.
But apparently it was also a bit of an homage or a nod to her husband, Matt Cardona, with the short and then the long tight. Apparently something that he has done or does do. I have no idea. Don't follow Matt's career all that much. But man, I gotta say I did like this. I like the reverse into the unpretty her.
That was really well done.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought that was really, really well done and a great ending of the match. Right person won. As much as I want to see Mitchin, get her due, I think this is just Chelsea's time. She just has been. It seems like everything is just kind of pushed toward this moment for her, and I think this made this was the right call to crown her on this event.
She deserved it. Like she's put in the work, and I mean, what match was it? Was it Bad Blood or I can't remember, but one of the past PLEs where she was I think she was in a triple threat match, and she got she got thrown through the tables outside the ring, and I'm like, I really hope that she's getting a bonus for this, because she's taken all the freaking bumps in this match.
Yeah.
Like, anybody who's like, I don't want to do that, she's like, I'll do it. Like, good God, save something for your retirement. No, she totally deserved it. So, see what you gave this a 3. I'm giving this one 3.5.
Right.
I did enjoy this one.
I
did enjoy this one. Again, another good showcase. Like, and you gotta love the fact that, you know, WWE in the past, like, what, year and a half, you don't have Charlotte Flair.
Yep.
You don't have Becky Lynch.
Nope.
And
That's half year.
So your 2 showcase matches here, you don't have Rhea Ripley, who is arguably one of your top 5 stars in the company, men and women. You're not including your other champion because, good God, nobody wants her within a mile of this. And you put on 2 really good matches that showcase the women's division in a really positive light.
Mm-hmm.
And kudos to them, man. Like, that is good job.
I would agree. Which brings us, sir, to our main event
of Saturday Night main event. So that's like main event squared?
It is. For the WWE Undisputed Championship, we have the reigning, defending WWE Undisputed Champion, Cody Rhodes.
Hang on a second. If you're going to do that, the reigning, defending, I have to do like he always does. Okay, it was fine when Samantha did that, but back it up a little bit. Like, Lillian ain't Samantha.
Yep.
Love me some Lillian Garcia. Great to see her back and you know, doing well. I mean, whether or not she needs it for like mortgage money, I don't know. But I mean, it's nice to have her back, but I miss Samantha.
I know.
Anyways, I'm going to do a little refill here while you're introing this.
But the reigning, defending WWE Champion Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens. This one, the entrances, you know, Kevin Owens just looking as vicious as one can look, but man, when Cody comes, and here's what I love is the fact that Cody, when Kevin comes down, has his own entrance, they go to commercial, they come back, and I love that they did it this way. Cody comes down the aisle because they are featuring the return of the Winged Eagle WWE Championship.
That's how they need to start referring to it. Not the Winged Eagle, the Winged. Thank you, sir.
Winged.
adding a little
stick on the end of it.
It's beautiful.
But no, I mean, seriously, like seeing that championship again. And here's what's funny is, like,
it was right.
It was right, but you know, you know, like since 2020, whenever they brought those like big fat WWE
Shield belt,
Undisputed Championship belts, you know, to you know, when Roman was having his long reign and all that, I often wondered if they were to bring that belt back, if it would look diminutive to, you know, compared to it. But man, when Cody comes out with that belt, I'm like, oh my God, that belt is just like
it's when you and
I lived at Lilac Lane and we were watching Raw, and that was when Austin brought out the, you know, kind of the new WWE belt, which was bigger. It looked more like to the size of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can see why they did that, and you know, show a bigger belt and it's more impressive looking. But man, when Cody comes out with that, I'm like, oh my God, does that just have all the feels of the old, like not just the old era, but it's just such a great looking belt. And even though it's probably smaller than those or not quite as, you know, impressive size wise, it was still impressive to see him wearing it. And it's like, God, I wish I saw that belt more. You know what I mean? Like that's the thought I had when I saw him wearing that.
Oh, and it's like when Deadpool 3, when Henry Cavill shows up and he's like, this just feels
and he's got the
right.
mutton chops, baby. He's got the mutton chops going.
Oh yeah. And I dude, I geeked out over Cole giving the info
Yeah.
on the winged eagle belt, going into who made it, the history of it, the detail of it. I was like, more, give me all the details. Because I'm a trivia geek. Anyone who's watched this show for more than 2 minutes knows that. Cole going into the background of that, I was like, yes. Oh, all of the stuff. I want a half-hour documentary on WWE's, Peacock channel now.
$429.99 on WWE Shop. I'm just saying.
Unfortunately, I ain't got winged eagle belt money. I just don't.
I'm tempted.
I've got new microphone money. That's about where I'm capped right now.
I hear you.
That was fan-friggin-tastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it was great, and I love KO's gimmick of he comes out and he just sits on that top turnbuckle and has that stare into nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just sat on that top turnbuckle, and you can imagine him just sitting there motionless for the entire commercial break as his music is just playing over and over and over, and just that dead stare. I think that is so great. Yeah, Cody and it's the right guy to do it with, because I mean, Cody is not as big as Roman. I mean, granted, he's not tiny, but I mean, it's going to look more proportional on him.
Yes.
Now, you can probably fill me in on this. This is not like the winged eagle belt. I'm assuming this is a remake of it.
Yes.
This is probably not the same belt.
Yep.
And I'm guessing like even those belts, like they eventually had to replace them or update them, so it becomes like that. What is that? The boat.
So it doesn't say WWF on them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not like it's like that argument from frickin' WandaVision, the boat of. I can't remember that.
Oh, the ship of Thesis.
Ship of Thesis, where it's like after it's been replaced, is it still the ship of Thesis?
Yes.
Yep. You go into that whole thing, but anyways, whether they altered it slightly or not, dude, it was so awesome.
I love that they brought the 4K intro, like that like this match is the one that felt the most PLE like.
Well, it's actually not even 4K, it's 8K.
Oh, 8K, okay.
Yeah, that's where you get like that video game friggin' cutscene feel. Because I always thought like, oh yeah, that's like 4K. It's like no, and I at least I think that's what I read.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's literally doubling up on the resolution, so it gives it like that little bit of unreality, almost like it's computer generated.
Yep.
Which is like almost using the uncanny valley to your advantage, which I'd really dig. Oh yeah, it's so good to separate, kind of make it feel special.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. What else was I going to say about that? Shoot. And actually, we have to acknowledge there were rumors about the winged eagle belt before, but then the little YouTube, the little video that preempted this between Cody and Trips, where he's like, got a little something for you, one night only.
Yep.
And then doing the Pulp Fiction, freaking opening the briefcase and it's like, now we know it was in the Pulp Fiction briefcase. It was the winged eagle belt. That's what it was.
Yes.
And that look on Cody's face.
Yeah.
And then they carried it through where they didn't show it. He had the case. I was like, oh, please. Oh, so good. So good. So good.
It was.
Did you notice during KO's entrance, there was a Kevin doesn't wipe sign?
I did.
One of the best signs I have seen in a long ass time.
Little snug.
It's so specific, but yet so derogatory, but in a perfectly clean, wholesome way.
100%.
Magnificent.
It was.
Absolutely magnificent. Whoever you are.
Respect.
Kevin doesn't wipe sign person. Here's to you. You've made the world a better place.
You have two fans here at Free Range Idiocy who are
and there's got to be more. There's got to be more.
Yes.
We can't be the only ones.
Yes.
This was the first match where we actually got Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary.
Oh.
Before this, he was just a presence in between matches and at the intro. Jesse started off slow. He He was definitely in second gear when everybody else was in fourth.
Yep.
He did pick it up throughout the match.
Yep.
He really did get it into gear as we went along, which is what I was hoping for, because I'm like, I'm rooting for everybody on this.
Yeah.
I didn't want Jesse to look like he was just lost. I didn't want him to be the, who am I and why am I here guy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was a little rough at first, but he did pick it up. How'd you feel about the beginning of this match? I thought it was magnificent.
Yes. I mean, this was kind of a classic, the heel, is frustrating the babyface sort of situation where he's rolling out of the ring. He's avoiding contact. Cody wants to get the match going. Owens is just avoiding him. And it's, and what's funny about that is it's irritating, as a fan watching the match, you're like, come on, like, let's see.
Even if you're
action.
smartened up, like it pisses everybody off.
Absolutely.
It's perfect.
Absolutely. And so I have a note about that I thought it was great. A great start with, the heel running, slowing it up and the face going after him. Cody did look like he had a chip on his shoulder. I thought it was a great, nice nod to, the frustration that he's probably feeling and the way that they've positioned the story and where his head's at. I thought overall the match was, well done between the two of them. You knew something was up with the referees being taken out. We had not just one ref bump, but two.
Well, before we get to that, a couple things I want to mention. The double powder, that was great.
Yep.
Cody gets the early advantage. KO takes over, and then we get the high Randy spot.
Oh, jeez Louise.
So classic heel.
Son of a bitch.
Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. Like, the thing is, like, I loved KO's work with Randy Orton.
Yep.
Culminating with the moment at WrestleMania where KO comes down on the golf cart because they had the epic chase with KO and Randy on the golf cart. They introduce Randy and KO backs up like a half mile because the freaking ramp at WrestleMania is forever. Backs the golf cart up, which, I mean, should have already, like, it's like, okay, I don't know what the bonuses look like at WrestleMania, but somebody give KO an extra 1,000 for that. That's some good, like, Teamsters should have been giving him a card for that. And then Randy hops on the back, and as he's driving down, you can actually see Randy be like, slow down.
Yeah.
Like, thinking this freaking Canadian's going to kill me before we get to the ring.
Yep.
Love his work with him, but I honestly felt like at this point, like, why are we having a KO Cody feud? Like, KO is just, nobody's taking him seriously as a main eventer anymore. Like, he's not that guy. Because I remember when we first kind of got this podcast going and we were reviewing some pay-per-views as I kind of got back more into wrestling. I remember back during COVID, there was the KO Roman Reigns, match at the Trop when they had the Thunderdome thing going on, and
I think it was a golf cart involved, a hit and run.
Yes, except KO turned out in the wrong end of that one.
He did.
But I was like, nobody's taking this guy seriously as a main eventer anymore. And lo and behold, we have managed to get KO back over as a main eventer and as a threat and as like a badass.
Yeah.
Which is where he ought to be, quite honestly. Like, that's who his character should be. And I was like, he was one of those guys where I'm like, I don't know that you can rehab this from where he's been over the last few years.
Yeah.
Damn, if like this work wasn't really good. Now this is the point, because we had alternating Stardust taunts.
We did.
And we had alternating
and Cody actually fed into that at one point.
Oh yeah. I love how we had the alternating flip flop and fly
Yes,
punches.
that was well done.
Cody didn't like that, and then he managed to get it. But he not only did he do the flip flop and fly, he did the hip swivel.
Oh, he did.
Which I was like,
a la Papa,
if you will.
You will.
Although it wasn't quite as lascivious as Dusty. Dusty put a little extra thing on that where you're like, Dusty, do you have another weekend job you want to?
I mean, even that reel that I find on Instagram often with him and with Dusty Rhodes and the one man gang.
Akeem. No, it was Akeem.
It was Akeem. It was Akeem, and he's throwing the
great
elbows, and you just see Dusty getting into it.
Well, the thing I love about that is like the first one he hits Akeem, and Akeem's like, he hits him with another one, and Akeem's like,
yep. And then the third one, Akeem just goes down, and he's like, okay.
But half that kind of dance around and hip swivel is like, it's literally Dusty trying to stay out of Akeem's way, because Dusty's like, this is a big mofo right here.
Yes.
I don't want him to fall on me if I trip him.
Yeah.
I'm an old
100%.
Man these days.
100%.
But yeah, so he gets the flip flop and fly over him, and then we have the alternating Stardust chance, which was great because you had Cody do the cartwheel. He sells the ankle.
Yes.
And then he does the
and that was a story throughout the match, is that the ankle was bothering him.
Yeah,
which I thought was really well done.
And he did such a great job of like working that in every time, but not to the point where I felt it was annoying, but it always kept it in your mind. Now here is the point where I did start to feel the frustration of everybody who had been watching this thing live with all the commercials, because here we at least didn't cut to commercial, but we had picture-in-picture commercial.
Yes. Yeah.
8 fracking commercials in a row.
Yep.
As this match is going on. I'm like, are you guys this hard up for the money?
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. This is where I get the idea that maybe there is a big difference between cable and network TV, or maybe it was just perhaps what NBC was like, this is what we're going to sell. And WWE's like, okay, I guess we got to work with this, and just kind of were like, you know what, this is going to suck no matter what. Let's just do our thing, and hopefully we get over the best we can. Because that was intolerable as I'm going through it. I'm like, surely this is the last commercial. Nope, there's another one. Okay, this must be nope. There's
damn it.
Okay, we made son of a bitch. What's coming up next? Shaq is gonna be advertising for maxi pads next. I don't know what's next. And immediately after or during that, after that commercial break, that's when Jesse seemed to get better. So I don't know if they gave him like an 8-hour energy or something after that. I did like the Cody RKO on the announce table. That was pretty cool. I've never known this move existed, but the Fisherman Buster.
Yes.
By KO off the top rope.
Well, he's done that before.
Second rope. I'd never seen that before, but I was like,
yeah,
that looked crazy and painful. Hopefully it wasn't. But yeah, that's when then we start getting into the ref bumps, which is where you were, sir. So if you want to pick back up there, if you will.
Yeah. So basically, we had 2 referees taken out in this match. The first one was taken out when I think Cody connected with him, and then Kevin put out Cody and had a very clear 1, 2, 3 on him, but the ref was out, and so nothing was counted. I think the second time may have been the reverse. I didn't make a note of it. But it may have been, KO taking out, or it was, Cody taking out the referee.
Yeah, it was Cody did the Cody cutter to the second ref. So that was
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The backup ref came in. There was a 2 count.
Yeah.
I don't know who the 2 count was for.
Yeah.
I do know the Cody cutter happened to the second ref.
And then, Kevin brings in a chair, which doesn't actually end up getting used. But when the second referee, not for him, but when the second referee is out, Cody goes and does a crossroads on top of the chair. and then throws the chair out of the ring and pins, Kevin Owens, which, there's some debate about, is this the start of a Cody heel turn, or is this playing into the story aspect of Cody saying, knowing where Kevin is at, he knows what he needs to do. And so we get that happy ending of the champion retaining. I think
rather odd, count though, because you actually have Charles Robinson not even in the ring.
Yes. Yeah.
Standing
he's
next
outside,
to the ring,
just
counting on the apron, which is odd.
Yeah, very much.
I'm sure Jim Cornette would have some sort of complaint about ring decorum at this point.
I have a note that Cody gets the win with some chicanery and ballyhoo. So,
which Jesse Ventura, again,
Jesse was beside himself. He's like, the champ cheated.
I love how he did finally kind of catch up, and I can totally understand why it took a while, because even if he was practicing at home, like, this is live, it's a different thing entirely.
Yeah,
it took him like half the match to kind of get up to speed, but when he did, it worked, because then he was the guy who was leaning towards the heels. He's not kind of a full on heel commentator, but he's definitely more sympathetic and calling out Cody on using the chair and all, like, that's not what a champion's supposed to do, and this and that. And then someone, I forget, I think it was McAfee, who said, well, it was there by accident. And he's like, trust me, nothing's there by accident.
That's right.
Which I was like,
that's right.
It was awkwardly delivered, but I'm like, that's actually pretty good.
But
that's
so true.
Good for you, Jesse. You managed to sneak that bit of business in there.
Yeah, you did.
That was, Cody retains.
Yes.
And I too wonder if that's I don't think it's the beginning. I think it's the seed of a Cody heel turn, because it's going to happen. It has to happen.
Yeah.
And it will be epic.
And that's when the event as a whole ends.
Yes.
Is with Cody winning. But for those of us who follow
there's
the
more.
business.
Now, do we want to give our rating on just that? Because you do have a separate segment here.
Let's give our rating on that. So okay. I feel like this match was
you're actually, just so you know, your cursor is in the after segment.
Thank you. So you're giving it 4.25.
You didn't have to spoil it for me. I was just trying to get my fine.
Sorry,
I'll give this 4.25 stars. It was a very fun match. It was worthy of being the main event. I feel like it was nice because they didn't unlike some other PLEs and other shows, they kept the main event, and the stuff that was going to happen in the main event was exclusive to the main event. So there was no other ref bumps the whole of the night.
Yep.
There was not really, I don't remember anyone else using a chair, any kind of outside weapon or anything. So all of that was exclusive to the main event, which is, I'm going to go old school with Uncle Corny on that. I think there is something to that you ought to save that. And this main event was a step up in terms of aggression and violence from the other matches. I feel like from that standpoint, it was built very well, because this definitely showcased, like, hey, this is special. And it was a fun match. It was a good match back and forth, aside from the friggin' 5.5 minutes of commercials in the middle of it. So yeah, 4.25 stars.
Yeah, I'll go with 4 stars on this one. I think it was a really well done match between two very good talents and wily veterans, if you will. I think there was enough there for the crowd to whet their appetite in terms of action, and overall I think it was a really good title defense. I do have some thoughts about the post-match ballyhoo.
Okay.
But
can we actually, I can actually take another 30-second time out.
Please do.
I'm sorry. I've been trying to hydrate and also my bourbon, so I just need a moment here. I'll be right back.
Absolutely.
12 seconds later.
All right. Well, we're back, and now we're back to the post-match shenanigans, which were, this is off air.
This is off air. So the event ends. Cody is victorious and retains his championship. But so, I end up going upstairs and I'm watching Saturday Night Live with my wife, and I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter, and I see all of a sudden this story of Triple H getting into a physical altercation with Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that's how I first saw it.
And that's how I first saw it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I watched the video, and clearly he comes out from the back, and Owens is celebrating with the winged eagle belt. And you're just kind of like, how the hell did he even get the belt to begin with? Because last time I saw Cody had it. And so what we end up finding out is after the show goes off the air, Owens comes back into the ring and basically applies what is called a package pile driver, a kind of crunch, if you will, pile driver on Cody. And, I pardon me for saying this, but goddamn Cody with his selling.
Oh, he sold it like death.
I mean, like, did you see his hands? Like, he's holding his hands in a way that's like very...
Oh, it was spooky.
Paralytic. You know what I mean? And you're just like, oh, shoot.
So the thing that we're talking about is, then I'll actually, so I'll make a note to try and find the video again.
Yeah.
And put it in the show notes. But it was, so the video that I watched today was after air.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's still being shot by WWE. So, I mean, you get all the angles and literally, yeah, Cody goes down after this package pile driver. The same, because didn't the same pile driver that...
No, so Randy Orton got a straight up pile driver from Kevin Owens.
Probably because Kevin Owens could not get Randy into the package pile driver, considering where Randy is in terms of musculature these days.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I ain't that flexible.
But they were also playing off the fact that Randy, had come back from a severe neck and back injury.
Yes.
And so taking that move, they did I'll say the right thing in terms of storytelling, and having him go off the air for, he still is off the air. Like, he hasn't been on the show since then, because...
And hopefully will be for a while, because that should be a long ass sell.
Yes.
But this looked devastating as hell.
Yes. So
and
Kevin,
again, WWE doing the right thing, because no one else is doing pile drivers these days, and still nobody is.
AEW is doing pile drivers like they're 5-cent moves. So you know what I mean? Like,
that's AEW. Nobody takes that friggin' crap seriously.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if you saw the whole thing, but not only does he do the package pile driver.
Oh yeah,
he leaves the ring.
Yeah. And then
comes
they put him
back
on the
into the ring, and as they're trying to get Cody out onto the stretcher, he steps on top of Cody.
Yes.
And holds the belt up. It's like, God damn it, Kevin Owens.
Which the thing is, like, there were some cheers for Kevin, but of course, there's always that, because there's some people who are just going to cheer for
the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the shots that they showed in the crowd of some of the kids.
Oh yeah, they were
some of, like, the younger people,
mortified.
which I'm like, yeah, I now remember that was what, and again, this is what is so great, a little bit of the retro, because it was also retro feel. Like, what did you feel like when you were a kid and Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty through the friggin' plate glass?
I think the closest to it is Hogan losing to Andre, because Hogan lost to Andre on Saturday Night's Main Event, and Andre then transferred the title to Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
And, as a kid, I remember watching that and thinking to myself, well, surely they're going to return the title to Hogan. Like, this can't stand. And they went off the air with that.
Yeah.
And, one thing I want, so I listed this, even though it wasn't part of the event proper, I listed this in our outline because I wanted to understand from your perspective. At first on Saturday night, I was a little pissed off by this. I'm like, why didn't they show this in the show? Okay. But with a couple days to digest and think through it and process it, I then reconciled this to the fact of, okay, they're putting the product out to an audience that may not, that is not the same audience as Raw and SmackDown. Okay. I can see doing this something as part of a Raw and SmackDown. When you're putting this out to an audience who may not be as attuned to the wrestling product as that typical audience is, in some ways it could be a turnoff. And in some ways I feel like what they did on Saturday was the George Lucas approach of leave them with hope, right? Let the face win. He overcame the villain. He beat him in a questionable manner, but he overcame him, and he retains his prize, and all is well with the world. I think that was in retrospect, after a few days, I think that was the right way to end the show. On Saturday evening, while I'm watching Saturday Night Live and I see this and I understand what's actually happened, there's a part of me that's like, why didn't you air this as part of the show? Because it has the same levity as what happened with Hogan and Andre. You're seeing the champion getting physically maimed by the villain, the heel. And then the heel takes the championship belt, which interestingly enough is not really I hate to say it this way, but it's not the real championship belt. But this is a very convenient prop that they give Kevin Owens to go around and claim that he's the real world champion now. Because in his head, he's like, I should have won that match. I am the champion. Cody is nothing.
Yeah.
And Kevin Owens is that kind of character where he just wants to rewrite history and be the hero in his own mind. You have Cody, who is going to recover from this and come back and say, no, I am the undisputed WWE champion. And they're going to have a title for title match, most likely. Kevin's going to run around with the Winged Eagle belt.
Which is a very convenient way to get the Winged Eagle belt back as the championship.
Boom.
Now, as a bit of a retort.
Yes. So did you feel the same way, or what was your kind of process of this whole thing?
At first I was like, well, why wouldn't you include this? But then my second immediate thought was, well, they also had that Cody KO thing after the pay-per-view that was found footage or fan footage or whatever, even though it's probably some WWE intern with their iPhone. Like, this is the kind of the direction they've gone with this, and it's something I think they're exploring, and it makes sense. I get it. Like, you're trying to kind of get with the times and that idea that everybody's got a friggin' video camera, like not just a video camera, but everyone's got a 4K video camera in their pocket. And how does that work in terms of the age of social media and streaming and immediacy? But also from the standpoint of, this is the part that is for the fans.
Yeah.
Like the real fans who have been following. Like, you give the fans who you're trying to introduce, you give them the happy ending. For the fans that, obviously, if you bought a ticket, you're not just wandering into this thing. Because I looked at the tickets for this event. They were not cheap. They weren't as expensive as I thought they were going to be, but they weren't cheap.
Yeah.
So you're going to this, you're a WWE fan. You go to these events, or you're already a fan. You're not just kind of like, well, I think I'll just go down to the wrestling show today. So you're giving it to those fans, and then by virtue of the internet and by how you're going to use that going forward on your own television show, you're using that for your fan base. And hopefully from this thing, you're now going to grab some of them, and then they're going to go, what? What happened after they went off air? You're going to get that surprise, and it's going to be a further hook in. But this is something for the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
So I kind of got that immediately. It's so good, dude. And where they can go for this is going to be so great.
You know what it brings back?
What?
The real world champion. It may not be Ric Flair, but it is Kevin Owens. So.
And you hope that Kevin does that, because if nothing else, Kevin is a student of history.
Oh my gosh, that would be absolutely hysterical if he does that, because it is just so right on the nose.
I caught some video of him where he was talking about asking Stone Cold to use the stunner as his finisher.
Yes, I watched that. You sent it to me.
And talking about how he was kind of surprised that he would let him. And then he's like, but I also kind of thought, like, well, if Stone Cold ever comes back for one more match, he's going to come back against the guy who's using his finishing move. And then, of course, like, he's going to win. So I'll take a Stone Cold Stunner. And he's like, and then it actually happened. He's like, I was playing the long game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, good on you, man. Good on you. And he's doing it with that, like, that thick Canadian accent too, which is freaking fantastic.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
However,
so I went back and forth on that because part of me was like, it would have been really effective storytelling to, leave the overall audience watching, the event with what happened to Cody. It kind of leaves them on a cliffhanger a little bit. However, I really feel like the through line, through this event was really trying to just cater to a much wider audience than they normally deal with. And I think they made the right choice. I think going with a very standard kind of ending, which to us, deeper fans who follow the product more closely are kind of like, what the hell was that? Because at the end of the day, this event did not have anything of real note.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I got to admit, like as I finished this up, the reason I gave it 4.25 stars because I was like, I'm satisfied with that match. And I heard a few people comment like online since then of like, oh well, they're obviously trying to finish on time and get their stuff in. And
well, that's the other part. They're
like,
working with the network, right? They can't just run over because they so choose.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I did not notice that. Like I in the moment watching the match, I was like, this was fun. And granted, maybe because I watched it after the fact and I'm not watching it with that time constraint, I didn't think of that. But at the same time, watching it, I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, they're really trying to get all their crap in and rush to the finish. Like, I did not feel that. I felt it was, I still felt it was pretty well paced. And of course, I mean, good God, I mean, if you have to have two people like in your main event up against a time break, you could do a lot worse than Kevin Owens and friggin' Cody Rhodes. Like, those two guys have had so much experience in so many different environments and in conditions. Like, those guys will bring it home on time. They'll find a way, like, I'm not all that concerned. They're pros. I didn't feel that way. Like, I felt like as the event went off air, I was satisfied with that as a main event.
Yep.
Now, did I think that it was the greatest, wonderful PLE ever? No, because it wasn't a PLE. So I mean, I tried my hardest not to evaluate it against that. So as the show went off the air, I was satisfied with it. I was like, that was without the commercial breaks and all that, I think it timed out to like an hour and a half, on Peacock. I was like, that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And I kind of left it at that. So, but then the overtime segment, now watching it, I'm like, holy crap. Now, and I feel like in a way, maybe I'm the test audience or I'm the ideal audience for WWE because I feel like I got it that way. Like, oh, now this is the stuff for me. Okay, cool. Thanks. Thank you very much, Triple H. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for getting the extra stuff. So the interesting thing, and I don't know if you've seen this, because I can't remember. I think I probably sent this to you on Instagram. If it was on Instagram, I'm forgetting now. But there was Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and whoever their host is, and they were talking about all the ways that this could go. About Triple H coming out, and one of them was like Triple H coming out and apologizing to Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens essentially giving Triple H the pile driver. And I'm like, good sweet mother of God, what would happen then? Like, because we know that Triple H is not going to have another match. He's already said. Yep. And well founded. I pray to God he is not going to get talked into doing another match, because if it endangers his health at all, it's not worth it. He has children, he has a family. One more wrestling match is not worth it. It's not like, oh, you might blow out a knee. It's like, this is your heart, dude.
Yep.
Don't frig around with this. We know that Triple H is not going to have another match. And yet, storyline-wise, he did come out and get physically involved. So I have a feeling this is not going to just get left. Like, this has got to get picked up somewhere, right? You know, I mean, like this isn't just going to be a one-off. Like, there's the fan footage, but I believe there's also like a WWE shot video of this.
Sure.
And we know now, like,
it's part of the show.
We know that this is either they're doing this as a test balloon, or it's like this is getting actively incorporated. Like, damn,
there's WWE footage of Owens delivering the pile driver and then doing the whole standing on Cody before he goes on the stretcher. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, even because the first thing I saw was like the Triple H getting physically involved, but that was like a crowd shot.
Yep.
And now we have like full HD, WWE video of that. So it's like, it's not an accident.
No.
This is going to lead to something. So
yeah.
Where does this head, you know?
Hopefully it's just more putting some spice on the fact that Owens and Cody are going to face off again, and it may be a title for title sort of match where, maybe they have Cody out for a month, like 3 to 4 weeks, and Owens is running around claiming to be the real champion, and then Cody comes back and says, you never actually beat me for this. This whole thing is predicated on, fiction in your brain, basically.
Yeah.
And
just like your dad.
Yeah.
You couldn't finish the job.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
And actually, if he does do a pile driver to Triple H, Randy and Triple H were kind of tight back in the day.
They were.
And they did have that whole thing before.
I just don't see them doing it with him, because it kind of crosses a line that, I don't know. It feels, I don't know. It feels weird to me. It's like I can see a situation where Randy comes back, Cody comes back. Maybe Randy's managing him, or accompanies him, to his match with Kevin. I see this going a route where Kevin eventually loses to Cody, and there is some rumor about the fact that Kevin's contract is coming up, I think in January or February of this year, of next year actually. And so there are some rumors around him going, is he going to leave the company, or is he going to stay? They're doing a great job of playing with that a little bit, I think, because he's in some ways a champion right now because he has that classic belt, and then you have Cody, who is really the recognized champion, and so how do you rectify that, right? Man, I don't know. I mean,
so many avenues to go.
If Triple H comes back, I mean that would be an interesting match as well, but.
He can't come back.
It must be a situation where he's gotten the clearance to do it.
No, it's got to be a surrogate. It's got to be, because I think at this point, like,
I would agree.
Yeah. And just from a standpoint of like, could you go? I think even someone, I mean, and you have to have an ego to go out in front of hundreds of, tens of thousands of people in your underwear.
Yeah.
And participate in this, in this sport. You have to have a bit of an ego. Otherwise, you're not going to do this. I think even with Triple H's ego, he's got to be like, I've been out of this so long. Like, this ain't going to happen. I couldn't do that. Even if they're like, oh yeah, your heart's fine. How long has it been since I've put on a pair of boots? No. Can't imagine that.
Yeah.
That's why I say Randy, but I don't know. There's so many different directions you can go with this.
Yep.
Especially where we're looking at, like, coming up in January, we're coming at the last year of John Cena.
Yeah.
And I really think, and unless they are completely loco, there's got to be some way in the last year, in 2025, we get John Cena winning his 17th World Championship.
Could be. He could defeat Gunther.
He could, but I don't know. Anyways, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. So, what do you give the post game shenanigans here?
Well, post game shenanigans, I give 4 stars because I think it was really well done, and it does a great job in setting up future stories. Like I said, part of me, there's a part of me that wishes they did it as part of the event, but there's another part of me that understands why they didn't. And so, but overall, I think it was done really well, and yeah, I'm really curious to see kind of where what they do with it moving forward.
Yeah, I give it 4.5 stars.
Nice.
Because I mean, again, it's just so friggin' over the top, and there's so many different possibilities.
I was very generous.
So many different ways this
I was very generous in Survivor Series. You, sir, are very generous in this event.
I am, and it was fun. Sometimes all
We're
you
the
need
balance.
all you need is a good, fun event. It doesn't need to be earth-shattering.
Indeed.
All right, sir. Well, we are hurtling towards 3 hours, which I did not think we would be doing with this episode. But so, what do you got for another thing as a recommendation for our listeners / viewers?
Mine will be quick because it is a repeat. It is something I talked about last.
I'm really surprised you canceled out your original one for this one.
Yes, and if we end up doing an episode next week, then this will be appropriate.
All right,
but no. For this time of year, and I think I talked about this last year at this time because this is when the movie came out. The Holdovers. It is a movie with Paul Giamatti as the lead, and
I'm not going to drink any more Evan Merlot.
Little snug. No, he plays kind of a Scrooge-ish character to as a professor or teacher to a set of students that are kind of relegated to staying at their school over the Christmas holiday, and the shenanigans and ballyhoo that takes place where he basically it's so much a Scrooge story in the fact that it takes someone who is in a bad place and brings them to a better place. And so what I would the reason I recommend this is that this is a movie that I could just watch over and over and over again. There's elements to it that are just the aesthetic of it, of the film. Alexander Payne directed this, and he did a phenomenal job, in terms of giving it a very 70s feel to the film.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a period piece, right?
It is a period piece. It is also a piece, probably speaks to me a little bit more because of my upbringing in New England, where this story is based on, really around a private school in New England. They don't say, specifically where.
So probably Exeter Academy.
Possibly.
Phillips Exeter, sorry.
But when you see some of the exterior shots, for me, it just brings me back to that place in my life when I lived there. I mean, there's just something about the towns they show, just the buildings, the rivers flowing through the town. It just reminds me so much of that. And on top of it, it's a great story. I mean, it's got some really funny parts to it, and it's got some very dramatic, touching parts to it as well. And so, over this holiday, we're my wife and I are hoping to watch this with our kids and see if they, attached to it the way that we did. But we saw it in theater last year around this this time of year, and it was a movie that really resonated with us. And so so that's another thing. It is streaming on Amazon Prime, so if you are a Amazon Prime member, you will get it for free.
Sweet.
And, yes, sir. And so do check it out. And The Holdovers, Paul Giamatti, he's the man.
Can't go wrong with that dude. Like even movies that aren't great,
yes,
it's still worth it just to watch Paul chew scenery.
100%.
And
100%.
Even though his dad wasn't a great baseball commissioner, you still got to give it up to the guy for his acting ability.
Indeed.
Even if you want to just go back to his portrayal as John Adams, he was the perfect John Adams, like just
That series was
crotchety,
amazing.
pissed off New Englander.
That series was amazing.
So good.
Yes.
The book is amazing too. Have you ever read the book?
I have not. Just saw the series.
So good.
What is your end and other thing, sir?
I actually changed mine up as well.
Of course you did.
Well, you did it first. Because I would say my favorite Christmas movie is A Christmas Story. Ralphie. I mean, it is a Christmas Eve tradition for my family. And I still, every time that we put it on, I give a little chuckle at the beginning because I remember the time back at Lilac Lane when you would mention like, oh, A Christmas Story's on. I'm like, yeah, they're playing it like 24/7 between now and Christmas. Like, no. Like a day later, like, oh, Christmas Story's on again. I'm like, yeah, they're playing it like 24/7 between. It was like the week before Christmas. You're like, nah. And finally, I think it was like 2 days before Christmas where you were like, are they playing this thing all the time? It's like, oh my gosh.
It boggles the mind. You know what I mean?
I thought I drank way more heavily than you had. But
you did.
Apparently not.
I
did, actually, yeah. No, although, I mean, there were times we went Mickey's for Mickey's. I mean,
we did.
We both regretted it afterwards. This is probably, it's tough to call. Oh boy, we're going full Sith.
Indeed.
Full Sith for the
Indeed.
finale.
For the end.
So in contention for my second favorite Christmas movie would be The Muppets Christmas Carol, which you can stream on Disney Plus. Oddly enough, the movie with puppets and a talking rat is the most accurate to the actual Charles Dickens text, which is still kind of mind-boggling to me. The fact that, along with all of its allowances, this is actually the most accurate version of the Christmas Carol you're going to find in most places. And I love the fact that there is the juxtaposition of the Muppets Treasure Island, where Tim Curry is in it, and everyone's like, Tim Curry deals with the fact that he's acting with Muppets by basically becoming a Muppet. And Michael Caine in The Christmas Carol basically just ignores the fact that there are Muppets and just treats them all as if he's doing Shakespeare. And both of those absolutely correct for those actors. I love Michael Caine's portrayal in this, and because he's playing it totally straight. He's playing this totally like he's a regular movie, and there's no puppets. It's just other people. And yet you have Stadler and Waldorf playing like the now suddenly, dual Marleys in the movie. And you have Kermit, of course, is, Bob Cratchit. It's just so good because it is heartrending, but is also really funny. I love every time I watch it, I get a chuckle at the fact that Rizzo and Gonzo peace out in the third act because they're like, this is getting too scary. We'll see at the end. And I'm like, crap. But then it serves a very dramatic purpose because they have served as comic relief and kind of a bit of a diversion. And then that third act, that third ghost, it's like, no, you need to, there's no way we can add any levity to this and have it land the way it's supposed to land. Like there's a little bit, but if you had Gonzo and Rizzo there who just totally take you out of it, and it really allows that third part to really sink in.
Yeah.
And again, it's the genius of the Muppets. The Muppets are, you can give the Muppets crap all you want, but the Muppets were fracking genius at like comedy, at tugging heartstrings, all of it. And it's freaking puppets. And it's obviously puppets. Yeah. And there's been so many people who have talked about, acting with Muppets and how like the number one rule is you don't talk to the person who's, because the person's down there, they got the puppet up here. You don't talk down to the person, you talk to the Muppet.
Yep.
And people will be worried about that. And then within 2 seconds, like it's second nature to talk to the Muppet. you forget there's a person. Going to the point of like Danny Trejo friggin' Trejo, like the person who looks like the dude that you would meet if you owe the wrong person money in California, the most dangerous inmate in California penal system at one point, was shooting. It was the newest, one of the newer Muppet movies with the guy from frickin' How I Met Your Mother. I can't remember his name. Danny Trejo lost his mom. His mom passed away while he was on location, so he couldn't be around any of his family. Like I think they were shooting in like Europe or something. And everyone's trying to comfort him. He's like, hey, Danny, I'm sorry to hear it. He's like, yeah, no, it's all right. And he kind of gets alone. He's about ready to do the scene, and he's doing a scene with Kermit. And Kermit says, hey, Danny, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. And it's not like record or anything. It's just the person who's puppeteering.
Yeah.
Freaking Danny Trejo lost it. Just wept. That's the magic of the Muppets, dude. It takes you to this place. And it's why it's one of my favorite freaking Christmas movies, because it's funny, but yet it's also heartfelt. And it takes me to this. It reminds me of all the times of watching the Muppet Show back in the day with my parents and stuff like that. So, one of my favorite Christmas movies, and we got to watch it this past week. So hopefully, we'll be posting this before Christmas, but make that part of your ramp up towards Christmas.
Nice.
With your fam or with your friends or whatever. It's such a great flick.
Nice.
And apparently there is a way that you can, the default is, I think, the original release version. There is an extended version where they add in another song that was kind of cut because they're like, this kind of gets a little depressing. I just always watch the original, but you can watch the extended. Go ahead, do it. But yeah, so Muppets Christmas Carol on Disney Plus. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for this evening, as we are closing in on 3 hours because, well, we have no regard for metrics or people watching this show. We thank you very much if you have watched the entirety or listened to the entirety of the show. If you have, son of a bitch, have a drink on us. You deserve it. Thank you to all the members of the Free Range Idiocy congregation out there.
Indeed.
And if you want to join the Free Range Idiocy congregation, all you got to do, much like Alice's Restaurant, you just got to sing a bar. The next comes around the guitar. Oh, wait, no, you have to subscribe to our show. You can do that at freerangeidiocy.com. You can find all of our episodes there individually. You can download them all. You can actually subscribe through the Podbean app there. If you say, I've got plenty of apps in my life, I don't need any more, then go find us on the podcast purveyor of your choice. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We are on Pandora. We're on whatever the hell Amazon calls its podcast service. We're on a whole bunch of others. Find us, search Free Range Idiocy. You will find us. There ain't nobody else out there claiming to be us because we Poe. You can also find us in full glorious HD video on the YouTubes. You can find our channel, Free Range Idiocy. Also at Spotify, actually, we have a video option there as well, so you can toggle back and forth. If you get tired of looking at our mugs, you can switch back over to the audio version and be like, enough of those chuckleheads. You can find us on social medias. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. All of those at Free Range Idiocy. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, or offers of outright bribery, send those to Tim, T-I-M, at freerangeidiocy.com. He will be back to you forthwith, if not sooner. That is as soon as he manages to untangle himself from his CM Punk hoodie. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it comes to the portion of the show where I finally shut my yap. Well, not really. I still comment throughout, but I try to be a little more quiet as I hand over the show to the lesser idiot of the two idiots who run this show. But not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. The first, of course, being from the holy scriptures of that Oakland soul band playing soul music since 1968, ladies and gentlemen. Still going strong these days. Tower Power, when they ask the question, what is hip? The second being, what the hell did we learn this episode?
We have learned the following, my friend.
Good.
We have learned that Uncle Todd was right on the money when he predicted that the fantasy gods would smote him. and he is
smite. Smote is the past tense.
Oh, I'm sorry. He would be smited, and he is standing as smote at this point.
I am smoking smote.
There is the consolation bracket, so we will see if he rises to the occasion. Come on, you can do it. You're paired up against Orchids of Asia. I think you can pull it off. You know what I mean? Oh, come on now. Come on.
It ain't happening.
Come on now. We have also learned that the man they call Tim, fantasy football maven, somehow catapulting from 8th place into 5th place through a happenstance of facing the garbage team. This was not orchestrated in any way, shape, or form. Do not listen to Uncle Todd and his and his critique or his opinion of how this played out. This was totally random and just happened to work out this way.
If you will.
If you will. We've also learned that
Head niche, sorry.
You all sit over there?
Maybe.
I think so. We've also learned that when it comes to the most controversial or it comes to the top 5 betrayals that have happened in professional wrestling, that cage side seats here at Free Range Idiocy, we disagree with the ranking.
I'd actually like to put that a different way.
Oh, okay. We will take that. We will take Shiki, raining spit all over said top 5, and have another
more.
You are worse than Hulk Hogan.
Fair enough. Whereas we would much more, champion the Shawn Michaels Marty Jannetty breakup.
Mussolini.
Thank you.
Oh wait, sorry, that was a different guy entirely.
Well, that's all right. We've also learned that Free Range Idiocy is bullish on Star Trek Section 31 based on the trailer.
Yeah.
And we are looking forward to that coming out in January. Yeah. So we will keep tabs on that. Possibly have some episodes maybe on that to reflect on the product that's put out.
Actually, one quick question. I meant to ask you this when we were talking about the follow-up scrum after the KO Cody match. I thought I might have spotted the Glorious one coming.
You may have, because he is a road agent for WWE. You will run out and defend Cody when he is package pile drive by Kevin Owens.
One of these days I'm going to sew Glorious on the back of my sweater.
You should.
On the back of my house sweater.
You should.
Because I'm that old that I have my
you can start the show with your back to the camera and I will introduce it.
I've got my Glorious house sweater on.
Very nice.
But anyways.
We've also learned that WWE bringing back Saturday Night's Main Event is a plus. It is a good thing. We are bullish on that as well, and hope that in the future renditions of this, we will get a more modernized product, but nonetheless one that includes a little bit more of the action that we see in the PLEs and.
I'm okay with it actually kind of being I'm kind of okay with it being a little retro. Like, I kind of dig that.
One thing I forgot to mention that I wish they included was the in-between match interview segments, which they did on YouTube, but they did not post or did not make a part of the live show. So,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, there were apparently interview segments done by not Joe Tessitore, but I'm trying to think what the heck is he's a podcaster. Sam.
No,
he's a bald guy. I can't think of his name. He's on
him.
The pregame show.
Now I know who he is, but I don't know.
I can't think of his name. And then there's the gal that's with him, and I can't think of her name. So, anyways, There are interview segments from Saturday Night's Main Event on YouTube. Do check it out. It's on the WWE channel.
Do they do them in front of like a nondescript, like peeling paint walker?
No, but they are doing it in front of a bright red. What would you call it?
Backdrop.
Backdrop. Yes.
So somebody has to. You know what? Actually, Trips. Come a little closer. Paul, I got an idea for you. KO needs to go full-on Macho Man. He needs to start delivering his promos while also turning his back to the camera. Just to completely flummox whoever is interviewing him.
Fair enough.
You know he would love that.
We also learned the man they call Tim, with his new CM Punk zip-up hoodie is looking very Emperorish. And
do it.
As one message to the group, to our audience, do it. Yeah. All right. With all that being said, we thank you for the listenership, and as we close things out here on the range, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The range is closed for now. See ya.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
So say we all. So say we all.
I actually kind of hope they keep a little bit of the retro element. I would really, because I feel like it distinguishes this show from the others.
Maybe over time they kind of lessen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's going to become part of their product. So you got to bring it out of the retro into the modern era. So.
I feel like a nice slow roll on that might be nice, though.
Yeah.
You know? And actually,
what would be nice is if you beat Orchids of Asia in the consolation bracket. I think that would be very nice.
I can't promise nothing because it's the Lord's will.
The Lord will not smote you in the consolation bracket. It's mostly in the championship bracket.
I don't put any. I feel like I am being punished, and I don't know that I'm through being punished.
I will carry the torch on your behalf.
Oh, are we going into like the Catholic Church of like you're going to pay for like
maybe?
Oh shoot! It was just on the tip of my tongue.
Do it.
Do it. It was not divinations. It was.
Are you ISB
or something like that?
Sorry, a little.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done here.
I like how you just make the call. You're just like, forget it. We're off the beaten path.
I've got the soundboard. I got the bourbon. I'm in charge.
Fair enough. Oh my gosh, it's not Grief Cargo. Who is it from Andor? Killing me.
How could something that rocks this hard also be funky as hell?
Saw Gerrera, that's what I was thinking of. Are you ISB?
Save the dream! Have you come to kill me?
More gun.
Now get the hell out of here!